Alrighty, good morning, everybody. All right, so before we completely jump in, welcome to all the new members and welcome to all the new Discord members. I've noticed an uptick in both, and I appreciate that so much. Thank you for supporting the content, being a part of the community. Two, we have a collaboration this Friday. Very exciting stuff. Me plus 3 vegans. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fabulous. It's not a debate. It's not like 3v1, type thing. It's more like it's more like a group of adults discussing the ethics of veganism. It'll be great. Yeah, it will be fantastic. So that'll be this Friday. Will be a lot of fun. A lot of organizing. It's hard to get 4 people's schedules all together, but we did it. So we'll be talking on Friday. For today's video though, we're going to do some just random news stories, some Discord recommendations, and then I'm going to answer a question that I got from chat about how to liberate yourself. And I said this the other day, and I say this always, like, I think you have, if you would like, I think to live your one life to the fullest, you must liberate yourself first, and or in relationship or at the same time as you're trying to liberate the world. But like, we're not going to liberate the world. It's impossible because people are too fucked up. But that doesn't mean we don't try, because I think that is a testament to our resilience as a species. But I think it's important that we radically accept that you cannot actually liberate the world. And I think this is the difficult part. That doesn't mean you can't liberate communities. That doesn't mean you can't liberate your family. That doesn't mean you can't liberate your country. It means you can't liberate 8 billion people at the same time. Because that would be utopia, and utopia is a word that means fiction. Doesn't exist. It's a dream, a fantasy. That doesn't mean we can't work to help the people in our life, in our community. Okay, so we're going to talk about the difference between like individualism versus collective thought, and why you're still individuals in a collective, and why there's like this strong disconnect and why people reject it. And also I'm going to use real life examples to kind of make my point. Okay. And thank you for that person who offered the commentary. Discord said, any Black vegans or PSC vegans? Not to my knowledge, because Elle is one of the vegans, and Catherine Klein is the other vegan, and they're both white as far as I know. And then the third vegan, I don't know what they look like. I don't know their background. So no, this is their group. So I asked Elle for a collaboration, and then Elle asked if Catherine Klein could come, and I was like, oh my gosh, yes, I've been wanting to talk to her. Is Catherine white? I don't know. But the point is that that's how that happened. And then one of Elle's associates as well, who I do not know their background. So we'll be talking on Friday. It's going to go really well, I think. So yeah, you can look forward to that. I have been reaching out to people. People have not either gotten back to me, or they did get back to me, but there has been scheduling issues. So I have reached out to specifically like a few Black women, but I have not yet been able to secure a collaboration just yet. But I would love to get a person of color, a vegan, indigenous vegan on. I'd love to talk about the ethics around that, especially as it relates to social justice. So I'm going to start reaching out to some of the vegans I've seen on TikTok. I think it's just probably getting lost in their inbox is what I think is happening, because not everybody is checking their emails. But even so, I've gotten some back. So fingers crossed. Some people get back to me. I know it takes some time. Honestly, I have so much anxiety just sending the messages. So I have to assume they have a lot of anxiety answering the messages, but there's a reason why extroverts aren't streamers. Most of us are introverts. Most of us are isolated people who are not interested, unless you're an in real life streamer, unless you're an IRL streamer, which I think is like the extroverted version of streaming. Most of us are very anxious girlies who probably get a lot of anxiety over any collaborations. So it takes like a lot. Like I don't know how to explain how bad my body feels sending out a collaboration email, but it feels like my insides are gonna vomit. I don't know why. Probably just because I'm anxious, but I will keep doing it. And I always tell my partner, I was like, give me a gold star. I sent out a collaboration email and he's like, I'm so proud of you. I was like, look at it. It like causes so much anxiety. It's so weird. But anyways, introvert life, I guess. Chad said, kind of looking forward to Friday. Catherine Klein has really helped me challenge some beliefs when I started looking to veganism earlier this year. Okay, love that. Yeah, I'm excited. It will be fun. It will be exciting. She's a good example. I tried to reach out to her, but I couldn't find an email and I couldn't find DM allowance on Instagram. So I couldn't reach out to her from what I could see. But the good news is that Elle knows her, and Elle randomly was like, hey, my friend Catherine wants to come talk too. And I was like, perfect, 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 perfect. So very exciting stuff. Okay. Here's what I want to start with to get our noggins kind of going. It's a heavy story, this first story. I thought it was important we covered it because this story is going viral on TikTok. Philip DeFranco is going to help us get through it. And I have a couple other, I have some thoughts about it, and I thought we could talk about it. There is this trend on YouTube where people pretend they're going to get prepared for their Netflix documentary, and they go, they sit down in a chair and they pretend, okay, well, this woman did that. And then her husband murdered her. So, okay, we're going to have Phil take us through the story.
The end of the news, starting with this. How many times have you heard this story? A woman ditches an abusive partner. She then gets a restraining order against him. The cops fail to protect her and she ends up getting murdered. But the situation that you have in your hands this time, it might be even crazier because at the center of it, you have Sarah Gilson. She was a 43-year-old hairstylist and TikToker with a very devoted following.
Okay, if you've been seeing this Pavoy ring all over TikTok like I have, just buy it. Click the link below and buy it. I just think this is so cute.
But as it turns out, behind this joyful public persona was this private life haunted by her estranged second husband, Sean Duffy. Because you see, this unstable relationship, it goes back to at least as far as 2021 when Gilson filed 2 protective orders against Duffy. But those were eventually dismissed because, for whatever reason, she didn't show up to a court hearing. You actually had Gilson's first husband, Lyle Landers, who says that they split up amicably and had been co-parenting their 2 kids as friends, explaining the situation to People magazine, saying she had been stuck in a relationship where domestic abuse seemed okay. I had begged her for 5 years to get away from him. I had offered to help her in any way I could to get away from him, but he seemed to have some sort of control over her and she couldn't seem to get away. But apparently something changed last month because Gilson filed again for an emergency protective order against Duffy. And you had her claiming in her application that he had a gun, he threatened suicide, and went on the run. And for some extra context there, earlier that same day, another protective order had been filed by a different woman, the mother of a 15-year-old girl on the youth basketball team that Duffy coached. Right, and according to police, you had another team coach catching him kissing and touching the girl and then told the mother about it. Right, at which point you had this girl spilling everything, saying that Duffy had sent her messages, invited her to his hotel room during a tournament trip, and offered her money to keep her quiet. And then police added over the weekend that similar conduct by this coach towards this particular juvenile player was reported to have occurred over an extended period of time in multiple law enforcement jurisdictions across multiple states prior to this incident. So seemingly you just had this other reason for Gilson to be like, okay, you're done for good.
Jeez, I didn't know. I mean, I knew she was accusing him of pedophilia, but I didn't know the full context. Like, I just found out this morning that he was a coach, but I didn't realize he had actually done something to one of his pupils, I guess. I don't know. I can't think of the word right now. That's gross, insane.
I'm getting a protective order and making sure that it sticks. And this time it worked. You had Duffy being barred from coming within 100 yards of her, and the order got extended through late August. And so you then had her posting a TikTok video captioned, "I wish."
Okay, see, I've seen this, and I'm just, I'm so proud of her and so devastated for her at the same time, because this is exactly what we've been covering this week of how hard it is to come forward, especially in abusive dynamics, because you think, oh, get a restraining order, get a protective order, do this, do this, do this. But then he still finds a way to murder her. Because remember, it's still just a piece of paper. And that's so devastating.
I was joking, where you see her entering frame looking nervous and sitting down, trembling with her hands clasped. And as dramatic music plays, you have this text overlay reading, preparing for when Netflix drops a documentary about my soon-to-be ex-husband, who I just found out is a pedophile. Right, and that video is also part of this TikTok trend where you have people sitting down as if they're being interviewed for a Netflix documentary and revealing something either comically trivial or just very deeply personal. But then what happened?
Oh, chat said, I can't tell if I'm just paying attention more, but I swear it feels like there's a massive increase in the number of femicides. No, it's on the rise. Femicide, that's why we did that protest. We did, 6 months ago or something. Femicide is absolutely up globally, and it is absolutely becoming more and more of a problem every day. So no, it absolutely is on the rise,
Next was just horrifying and heartbreaking. Because last Thursday night, just 12 days after, 911 dispatchers got a call from Gilson's home in Oklahoma. Right? And reportedly, it was her kid who called, and they could hear a woman screaming and crying in the background, followed by a loud bang. When police got to the home, they found both Gilson and Duffy dead, right, with appearing that he shot her and then did the same to himself. And so what you've had is just now family, friends, fans, customers, community, everyone's just shocked and heartbroken.
I'm lost for words.
I'm not sure if Phil's going to mention it, but I watched another news video this morning that said her 10-year-old son is the one who had to find, who was in the house at the time and had to call 911, which is just so devastating. And she has 2 kids. So now she has 2 kids without their mother.
Rest in peace, Sarah and Duff. May God have no mercy on you.
But then also what you're seeing is that you've got people taking a second look at the whole Netflix doc parody video and go,
Oh, he just said it? Sorry, I was reading chat. See, this is the problem. I'm trying to multitask.
wait a minute. If this guy was so clearly dangerous that his wife could plausibly joke about being terrified in camera, then maybe someone else should have seen this coming, like the police. Right? Because it appears that there were just so many red flags. He had a gun, he was mentally unstable, his whereabouts were unknown, and Gilson had told the cops all this weeks before. And well, yes, she had that protective order. That's largely only good for deterring him before the fact and punishing him after the fact. Right? When he's breaking into your home, he's pointing a gun at you, that order is nothing more than a piece of paper. So in the wake of all this, one of the things that you've seen just a lot of people online arguing that domestic violence needs to be taken more seriously. Arguing that the courts and law enforcement, they're not doing enough to actually protect women. And then also in this particular case, things get a little more complicated because Duffy was actually a member of the Osage tribe, and the basketball abuse incident happened on tribal land. And so you have local cops saying that they lack jurisdiction, which is why they referred it to the U.S. Attorney's Office instead. So that was separate from the dispute between Duffy and Gilson. And so you have critics arguing they still could have done more for her, whether that's tracking down Duffy or parking a squad car outside of her home. Right? But then also, because the internet, or at least pockets of the internet, are a cesspool, if you go, let's say, to Twitter, you'll then also find a lot of disgusting reactions to this story. You've got folks blaming her for provoking him with a TikTok video saying stuff like, well, what do you expect when you destroy his...
Hold on, I'm going to see.
You've got folks blaming...
Humiliating your ex-husband on the whole internet just means you're not afraid of him and ready for the consequences. Hope she leaves him alone in the next life. Listen, there is this divide on the internet in which one part of the internet is like everyone should be identified so we could go, like, we can know who these fuckers are. And then the other part of reality is like, you don't want the government having to ID everyone on the internet. But like, there really is this like, sometimes on my TikTok, I'll see like specifically Black creators, like they'll do a Omegle or something, and a white child, it's usually like a child, it's really bad. A child will scream the N-word at them and they'll go like, clipped, I'm sending this to your parents. And the kid just like breaks down crying. And I just like, listen, I don't have this history. I don't know anybody in my life who as a child would have done this to another child in that capacity. But I just can't even imagine, like, one, the parents probably don't even care, but two, why should Black creators have to deal with your kids throwing the N-word their way? Because I know in one aspect that is a child and we should talk about that. And then that still is a person who has to deal with your fucking kid. So like, there's like a lot of layers to this in terms of like how we should be reacting. Like, kids know it hurts. That's why they say it. It's not like kids don't know words hurt. It's like they say it because they know it hurts. And also they say it because it's taught to them. Like, they feel entitled to hurting people because that's the culture we're raised in. We're raised in a culture where people feel entitled to hurting you. This also plays into the conversation that we've been seeing about like husbands who annihilate their families versus wives who kill their kids. And again, I know the world's not ready for this, but people aren't just killing their families for nothing. Something is going on. And the question is, how do we prevent children from becoming adults who murder their whole families? And obviously, in this case, I think it's I wouldn't know. I'm not in his head. But it sounds like he felt pushed into a corner, which he certainly was, and couldn't cope with the fact that he had done what he did. P.S. Andrew Tate is literally running around bragging about having sex with 15-year-olds. So just see the difference between the two. He, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have one pedophile running around bragging and one pedophile who annihilates his wife, ex-wife, and himself. Like, it's just like, it's so interesting. But I think what's more interesting is the society that curated, created, and allowed this to be normalized and or made excuses for it in the first place. So again, I think sometimes when we're having these conversations, I'm always thinking about the kids and how they turn out to be people like this. It's kind of too late for him. Not that it's ever too late, but it's kind of too late. You know what I mean? What do we do about the kids who are watching Andrew Tate who become these people? What do we do about the normalization? What do we do about parents who have children knowing they're going to have to marry them off, or knowing they're going to have to, like, what do we do? I've seen updates and news report. I don't know how updated this story is, that even with the singer David and his victim Celeste, that maybe Celeste's parents actually signed off on her hanging out with him. So like, there are so many layers to this that I think like we cannot stop talking about how much culture is allowing these things to happen, and how she went against the grain in many ways, calling out her husband, because there will be people, like there are people even in my own family that are like, don't talk about it. Like they were watching porn. Oh, they were influenced by the media. Oh, this. And it's like, we have to talk about this. This is bad. You know what I mean? Chet says, I really like the way you think. The preventative mindset isn't always at the forefront of the mind when we live in a Band-Aid society. Well, I think, listen, I think the reason I think preventative work is so important is just because I do think we're animals on a planet. And I do think we're at the mercy of being a product of our environment. Sure, our genetics and biological predispositions, but I really believe we can have a much deeper relationship with our biological experience, a much deeper experience with all of us. Like, you know, I just think there's so much here that we're missing out on opportunities to help each other. But it starts with really these kinds of comments. Like, who is making this comment? You know, who is this person? This is crazy. Okay, let's see. Okay, so this next comment said the haters are saying she'd be alive if she wasn't an attention-seeking bimbo. You know, go to the authorities and let the system do its job. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. How many times have we heard this? You know what I'm saying? And look, this might be a troll, copy, pasta, whatever they call it. But ultimately, it is a real thought real people have. This is a real thought real people have said to my face. And this is why we have to be careful. Yes, fuck around, find out is absolutely appropriate some of the time. And a lot of the time, play stupid games, win stupid prizes is also the other side of that. It's like, you know what I mean? It's the other side of, I was thinking, fuck around and find out feels like, anyways, but like, you know, it feels like it's often meant to be like, empowering, but play stupid games, win stupid prizes feels demoralizing. You know what I mean? But I think they generally mean the same thing, even though I think they're used sort of differently. So this is somebody really thinks this about her.
Provoking him with a TikTok video saying stuff like,
let's see, I don't want to come off as a victim blaming, but it seems very stupid to very publicly make a TikTok trend joke about a guy she had a protective order against. She had to have been aware to some degree he was capable of. No survival instincts. Jesus.
well, what do you expect when you destroy his life?
It's clear as day she liked attention, and what does she expect would happen when she starts humiliating him? I'm not defending him. That is defense, okay? But you attempt to destroy someone's life, the father of her children, and expect him just to put his tail between his legs and take it? You're fucking dumb. Wow.
Life with an accusation like that. Then also, you have people pushing back, arguing, hey,
wait, what did that last one
what do you
say?
expect
Hold
when
on,
you
hold
destroy
on.
his life with an accusation?
You forgot the part where she made up that he was a PDF to ruin him and post it all over TikTok. Lock in and remember, girlies, that because it was a 15-year-old student, there will be people who say he wasn't a PDF file, though. So everyone who's in that camp is gonna think she's lying because they're not gonna count it. That's why I said Andrew Tate is running around bragging about fucking 15 and 16-year-olds because he goes, it's legal. Right? And people are going to say, yeah, it's legal. He's not a pedophile. Like 16-year-olds are like adults. And then they're going to turn around and write a comment as vicious as this after a woman has died. And this is why okay, and I understand like words have changed and things have changed, and they changed for a reason because you were never serious about protecting kids in the first place. Okay, and I see this as a person whose grandma was married at 10. And the family cannot have a conversation about it. My family just shuts it down every time I'm like, we need to talk about grandma. And they're just like, no. And I'm like, she was 10. And then they start arguing. Well, wasn't she 12? Oh, I think she was 13. I think she was a child, is what I think. So I think the problem is in the most best faith way, it just shatters the illusion of everything that came after. Imagine, you know, you have to think about your birth differently, your mother differently, the world differently, your father differently, your great-grandparents different. Like, the reason it's so hard for us to contend with what reality is because it's like earth-shattering. When you really recognize the world for what it is so, this is why we say the second part of today's stream is going to be about how to liberate yourself, because you can't wait for the world. Like, the world, you're going to be dead before that happens. But yourself is not individually alone. Like yourself is individual, but it extends to your community, your people, your neighborhood, your country. Like you can liberate a country, but you can't liberate every country around the world. Like you can liberate your community, but you can't liberate every community around the world. You can liberate yourself, but you can't liberate everybody in your family. So we're going to talk about in the second half of stream, but it's because of situations like this where like, how am I supposed to wait around while these fuckers figure out that having sex with kids is pedophilia? Like, how long am I'm gonna wait around forever. I'm gonna be dead, right? Tessa, do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? Okay, you didn't just pop into existence. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone thinks that they just are the first one to ever be born, and they're the most individualistic, and they're the most like, oh, I don't care what my family did, and my history, and my people, and my da-da-da. We're all products of everything that came before us, and I am unlearning shit every day. Every day I am unlearning shit. It's forever and always, which I know sounds exhausting, but I promise you the greatest form of liberation is allowing yourself to let go of the attachment that one day you'll be done. Because if you can let go of that attachment, you can free yourself from all of that worry of like, I've arrived. You don't have to arrive to be joyful. And that's kind of the key. Okay, let's finish this story out.
Accusation like that. Then also you have people pushing back, arguing, hey, publicly exposing your abuser doesn't justify or even explain your abuser then coming to your home and murdering you. And then you also have a lot of people criticizing the media for using language like she accused him of being a pedophile, which arguably makes it sound like the claim came from her, not the child and the witnesses whom she was merely echoing. But for now, with all this, I'm very curious to know,
Well, I think this plays into the abuse story that we also,
thoughts and reactions.
Hold on, Phil, please. This also falls into the story we covered last week about the woman who was in the abusive relationship, Lauren, and her story. He's still out there. Like, in some ways, these women have no choice but to tell the internet in many ways. So at least we know what happened to them when they die. Because, if this woman didn't post this video, in many ways, I don't know that it would have gotten the story. It wouldn't have become the story that it was. And then we wouldn't be here talking about it and being like, this is so serious. Like, this is why I say, be very careful. This is why even I've been told by family members, like, you shouldn't talk about this stuff. Like, hey, are you worried? Like, are you concerned? And I'm like, at the end of the day, if God forbid, if you get murdered because you spoke out against an abuser, all it does is reaffirm the reality that every victim feels and every predator gets to exist in, which is like this exact dynamic. Like, again, all this does is prove everything we've been saying forever. And I hate that people have to die for people to believe it. But even when they die, people don't believe it. They always say a perfect victim is a dead victim. But look, here she is dead and you still don't believe her. He literally killed her. And you're like, but hear me out. Maybe he's innocent. Maybe he's not. Anyways, okay, now I want to talk about another story that we're looking for updates on, which is Nolan Wells, okay? So Nolan Wells, let me go to the timestamp, please. Where's our timestamp? Here we go. Okay, let's get a timestamp of Nolan Wells' update, please, because his friends are now making the rounds on podcasts. This is Phil's update, and then I have a TikTok to show you, or Instagram post from Discord. Thank you for sharing that, because we are keeping track of the Nolan Wells story. It is looking more suspicious every day, okay?
They try to make everything. Starting with the news that one of the guys with Nolan Wells the day he died has been speaking out after receiving death threats so bad that he had to miss his funeral. Where you had Warren Hudson telling his side of the story to conservative YouTuber Brandon Tatum. And while people have been kind of side-eye,
pause. Conservative YouTuber, conservative YouTuber, conservative YouTuber, conservative YouTuber, conservative YouTuber, conservative YouTuber.
Pretty much everybody on the boat with him that day. Hudson stuck out to many because his mom or his stepmom, depending on what report you read, is a judge in the area. And so you've had her going on this defense saying no one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation. But now Hudson, he's been able to address a lot of the questions in the case for himself, how Wells got left behind in the first place, what exactly was going on with the boat that day. And this weekend, we also finally got to hear him talk about what happened with his phone, because people had questions about his parents having to track it down that night. And reports said that when they finally got it, some messages had been deleted. But Hudson claimed that he and some other friends, they only had the phone because Wells had left it on the boat that day so it wouldn't get wet. And when friends of Wells' family came looking for it, he said they had no problem handing it over.
The mom that was with them demanded Nolan's phone.
Was there a struggle over it, or did you guys hand it over?
I mean, just handed it over. I mean, we didn't think anything of it. My buddy went out to his truck and handed the phone over. No complications, no issue, nothing.
You also had him denying the rumors about him snooping through or deleting any messages on the phone.
Did you guys go through the phone, or?
Of course not. I mean, Well, none of us had a reason to go through Nolan's phone. I don't even know Nolan's password. None of my friends do. We had no reason ever to get on Nolan's phone and look at anything.
Did you delete anything out of Nolan's phone?
No, of course not.
And with that, you've had people reminding others that this is just one side of the story, so to take everything in with kind of a grain of salt. But also so far, while we haven't heard any concrete evidence about any foul play, that hasn't stopped the suspicion online. And the chaos from all this has apparently gotten very serious for Hudson and his family.
Obviously, I want to say my last goodbyes to one of my best friends, but I mean, if I'm getting thousands of death threats of people saying they're going to kill me and do crazy things to my family and I couldn't bring myself to go.
Right, and the fallout from this case, it's actually been huge from all angles. Right, because you also had reports that Wells's mom, who's a nurse, was getting 1-star reviews at work as the racial tensions got worse. With that, you had people online saying, all she did was ask what happened to her child. Fighting for justice opens doors to lies, more discrimination, and this very type of evil. And you had others saying this is a whole other level of race.
I don't know how to explain it, but when you're a minority of any kind, generally, but especially I think black and brown maybe, when you have a white friend, especially a most likely Trump voting white friend, how you show up really matters. And I think what's so telling is how they couldn't show up for Nolan. They just couldn't show up for him. If you saw how his friends, specifically his black friends, posted about him on TikTok, it was like reels and reels of amazing memories and dancing and laughing together. It was like a joyful celebration. And then when the white friends existed, they disappeared. They took all their social media down. They didn't right away express themselves. They didn't share all the stories. And I think like there's many layers to this, especially when you're young. Sometimes you socialize with people you call friends that like aren't really as like maybe close or maybe aren't actually going to be like long-term friends. And I think there's also a dilemma. And I don't know how many social events I attended as a kid, just like with peers. And like, sure, you would call us all friends, but like, there was obviously friends that were like my best friends and friends that were like, So I think that's what set the internet off the fastest. I don't think the internet would have reacted the way they did if his friends, in quotations, this guy in particular, really acted the way we would all expect a friend to act in this situation. And I know sometimes we do expect people to act in ways that don't reflect real people's behavior. But I think there was just no way to justify they didn't know the parents very well. The parents didn't know each other. He didn't reach out to the parents. He should have been with the parents. Like the friends should have been, I'm just trying to think if my best friend died or if any of my close friends died, I would just be so vocal about it. Like, I feel like, at least in our bubbles, maybe not even, well, I guess this went to the internet, so I would have to be vocal on the internet. But even our own, like I would be calling their parents. I'd be like, what do you want me to do? Like, how can I help? Like, you would feel like there would be like a sense of justice, like ripping through your body to like, say, like, do something about your friend's death. But it just didn't exist in these boys. Like, it just didn't exist in this space.
This has been evil. It's shit like this that makes me lose faith in the world. Though it does look like those reviews have been taken down and people have been flooding her with support since then. And with that, it looks like this interview series that Tatum started is still unfolding, so we're hearing more as time goes on. But it'll be interesting to see how all this impacts opinions online as we wait to hear more from the official investigation. You then also had the wild news that hackers just turned the wild...
Nope. Then this video gives much more context. Let's watch this one. Thank you, Discord, for sending this.
Finally speaking out in a several-part series. And I think that their choice of platform is incredibly calculated and strategic because instead of going to a major news network with actual journalists, they go to Brandon Tatum. Brandon's entire internet presence is utilized to denigrate Black people and to sing the praises of Trump and Turning Point USA. I am not joking, y'all. He gets up every single morning, finds a video of a Black person crashing out or doing something crazy, and utilizes it to generalize the Black population and paint this narrative of Black people bad, white people good. They knew that they could find a safe space over there with him. And if this was an attempt to get their story out to Black America, we don't exist over there in large numbers, sweetheart. I watch occasionally because I find the tap dancing to be incredible and fascinating. He really does put on a masterful display, but larger Black America, they pay this man no mind. And let's be so for real. This entire series is an attempt to exonerate Nolan's friends of any wrongdoing prematurely, at least in the eyes or the face of public opinion, despite both autopsies not being back yet and being inconclusive, despite the independent autopsy saying that Nolan had pooling of blood in the back of his head, despite the medical examiner holding on to pieces of Nolan's throat for further examination. Sounds like standard practice when foul play can't be ruled out easily. Now, to answer Brandon Tatum's question,
why does it have to be about race?
I'm actually not going to answer that because it's a dumbass question. I have a better question for Brandon Tatum and others alike. Why are y'all so quick to rule out race or racism in this situation? We, the people, are not sipping on the same Kool-Aid you sipping on, boo. We understand that racism is still very much alive and well, specifically in Mississippi. So please stop trying to gaslight and guilt trip the public for ensuring that there's no stone left unturned. Because if it turns out that one of them did do something to him, you're complicit at this point, in my opinion.
The boys that they've accused, claiming that they're racist white people, that they took him out in the middle of an abandoned island and killed him, they didn't have nothing to do with it.
Baby, the money gotta be good because he refuses to leave the plantation. So one of Nolan...
I will say, he's already twisting the story, though. I don't think anyone specifically said, from what I've seen, that they took him out on purpose. More like, and maybe that's true. Maybe some people are saying that. What I've seen mostly is that the lack of care and concern, and if there was a grudge, if there was maybe infighting, and maybe there was something going on, sure. But it wasn't even like, because it was a party scene, right? It was more like the lack of care, the lack of concern, maybe bitterness, maybe resentment, maybe who knows if there was beef. But it's more like, even if this was like in the best faith scenario, an accident, like truly Nolan died of an accident, why would they be acting this way? That's why they look suspicious. Because like, if this was completely an accident, you know, if this didn't happen the way that they say, like, it's just a confusing story. Like, everything about it doesn't make sense to me. I think there's no perfect way to act in a tragedy, but there are definitely ways you shouldn't act. I think sometimes it's hard to say because I know human psychology is so complicated, but I would say that everything about the way they're acting in this scenario is just too suspicious. It's too fucking weird. I can't even approve. And then I think the added layer is that they're conservative, right? The added layer will always be that they voted for a rapist. The added layer is they voted for a racist. The added layer is that they're going on, you know, a conservative podcast. Like, it just, you know, like, how are we supposed to read this? You know, like, I don't even know what to say. Like, okay, look, so we talk a lot about generalizations here, and sometimes I really got to block people who cannot fathom the concept. There's 8 billion fuckers on this planet, y'all. 8 billion people. Generalizing for the sake of understanding patterns is necessary, and this case screams the pattern we know all too well. The statistical probability of it not being exactly what it looks like is very fucking low. It's so low, we're open to it, but let's, you know what I'm saying? And so at some point you do have to generalize and say, like, okay, I know this pattern. I know this. I know the case. I know the evidence. It's exactly the playbook. Before we even knew these boys were conservative, we knew they were conservative. We're like, oh, we know what this is. The single black friend and a group of white kids, Mississippi, like, and we didn't even need this but then the podcast solidified, like, we know this pattern. And same thing with abuse victims. And we just covered the story about this woman dying at the hands of her husband, her ex-husband. Same pattern. You call out an abuser and they kill you for it. And then they go, why don't victims come forward? Why don't people say anything? Why do they wait years to come out? I don't know. Maybe because they kill you, you know? And so again, it is absolutely a pattern we know. And I don't think it's wrong for us to believe something, even if we don't know yet. I believe some foul play went down here. Okay, something foul went down here. I don't know it, but I believe it. And that's why we have to know the differences. You know, some people say, oh, I believe these boys are innocent, but they'll say, I know these boys are innocent. You can believe they're innocent, but do you know they're innocent? And then who's that really coming at the expense of? You know? Okay, let's take a little bit of a topic change from one of you that is gonna kind of clear us up for some philosophy stuff. Let's talk about this. Oh yeah, has anyone heard the recent call audio from this case? I did listen to it, but I really struggled with the audio. I know there's music on in the background and it's the 911 call. Is that the one you're talking about? I tried to listen to it, but it was really muffled. Let me see. I actually think I have it saved. Do you guys want to hear it really fast? Let me see. I think I have it saved. So this is from Nancy Grace. Let me double check that this is the right. Yeah, this is Nancy Grace because she's taking on the story. It says, see tow dispatch call, male, sure he's dead. Female, is he dead? Male, Nolan. Female, oh my God. Nolan, don't die. Dispatch, tow.
Assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and
Now, this is the part that's being contested. Are they really saying Nolan is dead in the background? Right? Are they really saying Nolan is dead, or are people making that up? And I can't tell because the audio is too fucked for me to hear. Because if he is dead, then why is the caller saying this right here?
our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
See, like if so that's why people are arguing, like if Nolan is dead and that's what they're saying in the background, then why did he not say, hey, our friend is dead, come help us? He's just saying, oh, our boat is sinking, which was their initial story when the story first broke.
All right, of course. How far is the work coming up, sir?
Male, wake the fuck up.
Can you give me a description? Ankles?
What'd
Hello?
you say? Hey,
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
it's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
What did we just hear?
The problem with Nancy Grace, though, she's such a entertainer. You know what I mean? Chad says there was another clip where someone says, "Can we cover it up?" Let me see. Let's see.
Just into the Don Lemon Show newsroom, we have a new development on the Nolan Wells case.
Also another dramatic news guy.
Mississippi officials have released the CTO emergency call connected to Nolan's disappearance. Listen.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
Now listen closely. In the call, a teenager says everyone on board is accounted for, even though the boat is sinking. But Nolan Wells never made it home, and that's why this recording is significant. It becomes another piece of the timeline investigators will have to examine alongside everything else that's already been made public. Now, nearly a month later, Nolan's death remains unexplained. The independent autopsy didn't provide a definitive answer, and this recording doesn't answer the central question either. What happened to Nolan Wells? We're going to continue.
Let's see. Somebody gave me this one from Threads. I don't. Can I open Threads on my account? Let me see. Sure. This.
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership. Shut up! Shut the fuck up!
It said, can we cover it up? Sorry, Instagram doesn't let me pause. I always forget. I hate that. Yeah, so it's like Nolan, wake up, and then it's like, can we cover it up? I don't know how Chet said this was enhanced audio by a black audio engineer, according to someone in the comments. Yeah, it says professional grade transcription of Nolan Wells audio. Those white kids definitely killed him, likely on purpose, and actively covered it up from the beginning with the help of their influential parents. Because I know one of the moms is a judge. Yeah, there's definitely, I think we're going to get like really bad news at the end of this story. I mean, we've already got bad news. Nolan is dead. But yeah, I think it's going to be exactly what it looks like. It looks like a murder. It looks like, here's what I think. Okay, this is going to sound horrible. I think, maybe, speculative, that they didn't intend to kill him, but they intended to bully him. I wonder if they purposely invited him out, isolated him, teased him, maybe targeted him, and then he accidentally died and then they didn't know what to do. But I felt like it was giving like isolate. Like if I have so many stories of kids that I know like people like tried to friend or like pretended they were their friends and then made them do really horrible things, like bullied them into doing really horrible things. And like a lot of these kids, like it's amazing what your kids are going through at school. Like I can't even explain to you how bullied your kids are at school. Like, and it's just so devastating. And especially if you're the alienated kid, especially if you're like in any way an outlier as a child, like they will feel it, they will smell it on your kid, and they will target your children. And that's why I say like we really are animals on a planet, and like we want to live in a society where we think like, you know, kids are victims of their environment. I really believe this. I believe if we centered children as our focus, we would raise better kids, we'd raise more loving children, and our children wouldn't become such natural bullies. But I do think society makes predators. I think society forms bullies. And I think a lot of these parents raise a lot of kids to be bullies, and they're in denial of it. But it's the way you're talking at home. It's the way you're like, it's the way your kids hear you talk about other people, right? Yeah, chat Discord said the damn it Bart sounds like something bullying wise went too far. Yeah, that's what exactly. It's like, oh damn it, like we didn't mean for him to die, but he did die. And so I just think like, I don't want us, because I know there's a group of adults too that think kids are the most manipulative, vile creatures. And they think like, you know, they always blame the children. So when kids come out with their sexual abuse stories, parents go, you wanted it. You are manipulative. I am not saying that. I'm saying you as the adults in the room are raising your children. And I'm also saying that you as the adults in the room are taking advantage of your children. Like, and this is what's so devastating. And we're going to actually cover this in the part of stream today where I talk about like liberating yourself as a person, as a consciousness. A lot of it is going to tie into family dynamics, because that's the first place you learn to liberate yourself, is away from your family dynamics. If you grew up, especially in an immigrant household, especially if you grew up as like an older sibling or an elder daughter, the first place you really learn what liberation means is to not live for your family anymore. Because whether they say, oh no, don't help me, it's okay, I can handle it. The truth is like, if they meant it, they wouldn't let you. They wouldn't let you burn out and destroy yourself for the obligation of helping the family. And I'll give you examples. Okay, before we get into that, let's transition with this conversation around hygiene, because Discord asked me to talk about it, and I thought I could do that. I could talk about this. Okay, let's see. Actually, wait, let me pull up this TikTok to go along with it, because I feel like it might actually relate. Okay, these might relate, so let me just pull it up in case.
Today, or that you wash your couch pillow.
Oh, let's start again.
When you tell me that you shower 4 times a day, or that you wash your couch pillows every single day, or that you always wash your underwear the second that you take it off, I don't believe you. I'm sorry.
Okay, pause. If you're showering 4 times a day, Habibi, you have a mental problem. You are wiping away all the natural oils. You are literally drying out your skin. You're going to be very uncomfortable in your body if you're showering 4 times a day. Hello? Did you murder someone? You trying to get the blood off your hands, girlies? Okay. Yeah. So like you can't be showering 4 times a day. Twice a day, absolutely maximum. And that's only if you're really in an industry where you need to. So first of all, if you tell me you're showering 4 times a day, I believe you and I'm concerned for you. But I do understand the sentiment of the opener, which is when you tell me this, it's hard to believe you because. So let's see.
I have found that what people perceive as clean, as in the aesthetics of cleanliness, and what is actually scientifically clean are often 2 very different things. For example, a lot of people believe that using more laundry detergent means that your clothing will come out cleaner, when it's actually the opposite. The more laundry detergent you use, the dirtier your clothes will be. Showering several times a day can actually be worse for you than showering once a day or once every other day, because you're stripping your skin of its natural protective oils and disrupting your skin's microbiome. Most methods of hair removal are actually more unhygienic than keeping your body hair, because body hair hair exists to wick sweat and moisture away from the skin. And most methods of hair removal create micro tears in your skin that can introduce infection. But because we have tied the concept of hygiene itself to class and morality and virtue, hygiene becomes very easy to sell and very scandalous to talk about, because it almost becomes, for lack of a better term, a virtue Olympics. It usually happens like this. Person A says, I only shower every other day and that works out fine for me and my work schedule. Person B comes in to say, what? That's so gross. You mean that you get into your bed every night with the day's stink and grime and musk? That's disgusting. I shower every day, once in the evening, so that I can go to bed clean. Person C then chimes in with, that's disgusting. You wake up and go to work with all of your sweat from last night on you. The only way to be clean is to shower twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. A perceived lack of hygiene, even if you're doing something objectively more hygienic, is seen as a moral failure. There's a sense of shame to not being the cleanest person in the room, or more specifically, not being seen as the cleanest person in the room. Remember what I said earlier about the aesthetics of cleanliness? And many people have a deep-seated anxiety about being seen as unhygienic because of this. And it's very difficult to work through. I run into it all the time. Unfortunately, this is an anxiety that tends to manifest in populations of people that have historically been treated as if they're dirty, and that having been used as a justification for their oppression. And when people become really fixated on the aesthetics of cleanliness as opposed to the scientific reality of cleanliness, they often end up harming themselves in the process. It causes undue anxiety and stress. It takes up an unnecessary amount of time that could be spent relaxing or on hobbies. And in cases of things like fragranced feminine washes, douching, and washing raw chicken, many of the practices that are touted as hygienic are directly detrimental to your health. It should be noted that because we associate poor hygiene with things that we also consider to be socially undesirable, like poverty, the Hygiene Olympics has also come about as a result of class anxiety and people desperately trying to cling to their class status in a world where they are most likely financially struggling. They might be worse off financially than ever before. To put it bluntly, at least they don't use bar soap like those dirty pores. The Hygiene Olympics is a result of centuries of conditioning, oppression, and anxiety. When you tell me that you shower,
I do think there are a lot of layers of truth to this. I think it's interesting that they're generalizing instead of being specific, probably to maybe not alienate or get too intersectional about it, but there is an intersectionality here, or there's a part of intersectionality here that could be explored. I will say this, that it depends on what we mean by showers. So if we're taking 5-minute showers just to like brighten up your day, like you're jumping into the shower for 5 minutes and 5 minutes at the end of the day, like that's not, to me, 2 showers a day. Like if I hear 2, 3, 4 showers a day, I'm thinking the whole routine, right? If you're just jumping into your morning shower to wet your hair or like maybe wash off your armpits or something, and that's like your morning shower, and then at night you do like the real routine, like that's kind of like a shower and a half to me, or like a shower, you know? But if you're, you know, doing the whole, like washing your hair, you know, that's okay. I will say that there are people that I've seen, like she gave the example of washing the chicken in the sink. Yeah, so typically like I watch a lot of Black doctors, Black creators, Black people talk about like trying to train sort of or communicate culturally that you don't have to wash your chicken, but there's always been this association with specifically like the fight over like who has cleaner kitchens or who washes their chicken or doesn't, or I can't eat at your house if you don't wash your chicken. But there is something about dispelling or like deconstructing sort of where you learned that cultural expectation, because you are spreading more disease around your kitchen sink if you're, you know, let's see. I think there's something there. I think also there is sort of, this is, okay, when poor people start doing what rich people are doing, rich people start doing what poor people are doing. So poor people will find a way to build culture, bring something about, like do what they can with what they have. And then rich people will see it and pretend they're poor and like play, you know, costume poor, right? So there's something about that as well, where at the end of the day, it's still high school with money to me. That all of this conversation, all of what we think is culture is also just a reaction to the people around us. Like, I really do think adulthood is high school with money. So if you notice the popular kids are doing XYZ, the more cool kids or nerdy kids or underground kids will act a certain way. And then if the cool kids are doing it, or the like punk kids or goth kids, and then the normies or popular kids pick it up, then it switches. So I just kind of feel like there is a part of this that is just social dynamics, because I know as somebody with curly hair, I only do my full hair routine every 5 to 6 days. Otherwise, I don't shampoo my hair throughout the week because I'm not about to dry out my scalp like that. And it's not good for my curls. And, you know, sometimes in the past when I would tell people this, they'd be like, oh my gosh, you don't wash your hair every day? And I'm like, no, because of the way that my hair is, I'm very dry. You know, I'm like very, very dry. It's not going to happen. Okay. But maybe if you're really, really oily, or I don't know what it's like to be an oily person. So I don't know what their routine is, but I know from my friends or siblings who are very, very oily, their whole life is different. And I think they wash their hair every, I want to say 3 days, but if I washed my hair, I'll give you an example. When I moved to Croatia, I went through, I don't know what it was. I think it was just transition anxiety. But when I moved to Croatia, I don't know what happened. I started washing my hair like every day, like every other day. And I started to smell like a dirty rag. We call it zanucha. And I was like, what is happening to my hair? And my partner was like, Brittany, you smell bad. I was like, I smell bad? And then I asked my mother-in-law, I was like, do I smell? And she was like, yeah, you smell. And I was like, what is it? I was going through such an anxious spiral that I was over showering and over cleaning. And it was just, I was doing it for comfort, and it caused like I said, like a zanucha, like a wet washcloth smell in my hair. Anyways, it disappeared once I stopped showering, over showering. I think I was just anxious, and water is my safe space, and we don't have a sink I can dip my feet into. So I just, you know what I mean? So a lot of this, that's why I said, hey, like, are you mentally going through it? Showering 4 times a day. Oh, I used to do that when I was really, really depressed, but I wouldn't just shower. I wouldn't shampoo my hair. I would sit in the shower with a cigarette and like listen to sad music. And then I'd hit the bong. Listen, okay. I would just be in the water. I would just like draw a bath and be in the bath for like 6 hours, you know, but I wasn't even cleaning. I was coping. So again, I think when we have these conversations, it obviously always goes back to mental health, culture, expectation, how you're brought up, and the myths you believe. Like the myths you believe about needing to wash your chicken. And also, can I just say, you know, if you're plant-based or vegan, you don't have to worry about that because you're not eating a dead animal that could make everything infectious in your kitchen. So just another reason to go vegan, you don't have to worry about cleaning your chicken. You know, so just, you know, my sibling said that to me the other day because I've been going like meat free for a while just because like of the journey I've been on. And they were like, I just love that I don't have to worry about raw meat in my kitchen. They're like, this is such a liberating experience to never have to worry if like if things are clean and everything, you know, so it's just, you know, another thing to take off your plate if you want to, you know? So anyways, I think there's a lot to this. And I think mostly it's something to keep in mind about who we're talking about, who's having the conversation, what needs to be unlearned, what is good, what should stay, and what should maintain. There was also that conversation about washcloths in a shower, like loofahs or letting the water wash down your legs. I think it just depends on the life that you live, and also how disabled you are and how many spoons you have to scrub every part of your body. I think the problem is like all of us are trying to one-up each other, and we're also trying to validate ourselves of fighting stereotypes. So if you have an argument of people of color on the internet shaming white people for not being clean enough, a big part of that is because white culture has shamed Black people in particular for not being clean enough. So then if you have Black people that are trying to dispel that stereotype because it's not true, you know what I mean? Or if you have Arab populations, because I know like with Arab populations, I'll just speak for West Asians. For West Asian populations, we have 2 reputations, either being extremely clean and methodical or being like gross, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, the gross is boys, first of all. And the gross is also boys who like are deeply in their masculine, being smelly, being overgrown, like not grooming. The part of like Arab culture or West Asian culture that is much more like hygienic is also associated with like grooming, doing eyebrows, having nice facial hair. My father in particular, growing up with my uncles, like very, very clean, like ridiculously hygienic, like ridiculously morning routine, colognes and aftershaves. And, you know, my brothers go get their eyebrows threaded. You know what I mean? It just very much expected as to signal put togetherness. And so I think there's a lot here that's layered, right? Let's see. Discord said, I'm confused. Don't you still have to rinse beans and lentils, etc., and rice and stuff? Yes, but if like an example is, wait, are you talking about the? Well, those don't hold bacterial diseases, right? Aren't you just washing out the dead bugs and stuff like that from and maybe the bitterness from like quinoa or something? Because like if you drop a vegetable in a sink full of like bean water, I'm not worried about that vegetable. You can wash it off. But if I drop my vegetable in a goop of chicken goop, then I'm not going to eat that vegetable. It's gone. It's dead. As far as I'm concerned, that vegetable's gone. I think that's the reference, right? That's the idea. Chat says when we say wash chicken, we usually mean rinse with water, not soap. So I'm just confused. Yes. So studies have shown that rinsing your chicken in your sink with water is bad. It spreads bacteria. It is not cleaning anything. You are just spreading bacteria all over your house. There is no health benefit to cleaning off your chicken. It is purely psychological. It's a placebo. That's what the science says. So if you're cleaning off beans or rice in the sink, you're not spreading dead carcass juice all over the house. But if you clean your chicken in the sink, science says there's no actual benefit to doing it. It's just, when you get a chicken that's kind of slimy, you want to wash it off. I get that. I 100% was a wash chicken in the sink kind of girl. Until, again, I'm a very like number science girly. So if the science says there's no reason to do this, I kind of do like, unless I need the placebo effect, stop doing it. But I used to wash my chicken in my sink, especially if it came like with that kind of like, but now I don't eat meat, so it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? But once I understood the science, I was like, well, the whole idea is like, I'm trying to be cleaner, I suppose, but whatever. Everyone, the thing is like, this isn't an ethical, moral issue at the end of the day. If you want that experience of like washing off your chicken, I don't think there's like an ethical issue to it. I don't think you're immoral for doing it. You know what I mean? I think if it makes you feel better, you should do it. And I also think like you could just keep it in mind for maybe the other dishes in the sink or how people are operating within the sink. I don't know. I also use my sink as a bowl. Like we clean our sink really, really well. And then sometimes I use it as a bowl, right? Like you plug it, you wash fresh vegetables in it, you scrub it down and clean it. You utilize the sink like a plate. Like I clean my sink like it's a plate because my sink is another functional bowl. It like, you could do a lot of things in it, right? So just, some thoughts. I'm not sure. Let's see. Discord said it's not for health, it's for flavor. So you're seasoning your chicken, you're not washing your chicken. Why do you call it washing and not seasoning? If it's for flavor, wouldn't you call it seasoning your chicken? Because the assumption is when we're talking about hygiene and someone says you don't wash your chicken, the assumption is you're dirty. So then when you just say you're seasoning your chicken and not washing your chicken, is this just like a issue with language? Because usually the conversations about washing your chicken always shows up in the hygiene conversation. So maybe something to think about, I guess, when we're communicating, I suppose. Bubbles, you know what you do. Let's see. Jess said if the sink is dirty, then yeah, in my head, nothing can be cleaned in it. Yeah, for sure. And I don't even like to cook if the sink is full. I hate it. I cannot function if my sink is full. If my sink is full of dishes, I'm just like, the kitchen isn't clean enough to cook in. I have to have the dishes done so I can cook, Chet says, I think they mean to take away an off taste when they wash it. Oh, so it's like it's almost both, maybe? Yeah, maybe it's like, yeah, my partner's in charge of the dishes and I'm always like, can you do the dishes? I have to cook later. I'm always like, I don't want to start cooking. You know what I mean? Can you go do the dishes? Anyways, so, okay, check this out. So I thought this video might be related, but it's kind of not, but it's kind of, I want to share it with you anyways. You know how we always feel like, I don't know who Chelsea Fagan's always shadowboxing with, but she made a neurodivergent post and she's ADHD and you know how much, I don't love the way she talks about neurodivergence, but I want you to pay attention to something she says here that I think is like the way she phrases it is so important and why I disagree with it. And it kind of plays into all of these conversations about language and how we use words. Because I'm seeing that some of you are saying washing your chicken doesn't mean with water only, or washing your chicken means with seasonings. Like washing your chicken, when scientists are saying wash your chicken, they're saying putting dead animal in your sink in any capacity is only spreading bacteria. Down to the very basics, most people think washing your chicken just means putting water on it, and or lime and vinegar, and or just moving it. Like, it depends on who the bubble is. But the way I've seen scientists like talk about it, they're saying if you move your dead chicken to the sink, anything that dead chicken touches, you are spreading disease. If you handle your raw chicken and touch things, which I see people do all the time, they're always touching their meats and then touching the sink and touching the counter and touching. And I'm like, I'm a wash my hands in between everything I do kind of person. Or the other day, okay, wait, before we go to Chelsea Fagan, my sibling was at a like a friend work event or whatever. No, it wasn't a work event. It was like work people, I think, invited them over or something, and they had like a charcuterie board. Okay, here's the hygiene test. Are you guys ready? Here's the hygiene test. So there's a charcuterie board, but they have multiple animals in the house. They're petting the animals and then touching food on the charcuterie board. Hygienic or not hygienic? They also have animals that like jump on the tables or want to be around the food or get close to the food. My sibling was so mortified at this social situation. They didn't know what to do because they're like, I don't want to eat this food. I just saw you pet your dog and then go for the food. And now they were in that social situation of like rejecting the food. And I was like, I'm not eating it. I'm not eating it. I'm just going to tell them I'm not hungry. And it's exactly that kind of situation with all of these conversations. Like, it's so nice that this person opened up their home. It's so nice they spent all this money on this food. It's so nice. And also respectfully, I'm not going to eat that food because I just saw your hands go on that animal. And then I just saw those hands go in my food. So no, I'm not going to eat that. But it's really interesting because this just goes into, well, it's a cultural divide as well, because one time I went and got Ethiopian with somebody and we both washed our hands and then agreed we'd eat together. But like, I had to trust this person had clean hands because you're kind of like eating together. And it goes into this like, and by the way, Ethiopian food, so fucking good. So fucking good. But it was like such an experience. But it is one of those things where like, as animals, we're kind of dirty, but like our dirty is ours. But like other people's dirty, I don't want it in my mouth. Okay, I don't want it in my mouth. Okay, and this is just a reminder, ladies, not to put anything in your mouth that hasn't been directly in a shower. Okay, this goes back to the conversation we always have is do not put anything in your mouth that hasn't directly come out of a shower. You hear me? Because mind you, some of these people, some of their genitals are touching toilet bowl water. Okay, some of these people's are touching the lid of the toilet. And then it is going in your mouth. So you better be nothing in your mouth that hasn't been directly out of a shower. Okay? Okay, thank you. Okay. And it hasn't been tested. And that hasn't been tested. Okay? Okay. Okay. Now, okay, check out this video from Chelsea Fagan. Check this out.
And you can be neurodivergent and also a dick. And I fear that our current moment of mental health discourse has given some of you the impression that those two things are mutually exclusive, like that falling under certain umbrellas of neurodivergence sort of excuses you from the most basic aspects of the social contract, or gives you a right to treat others however you want, with them still being kind of morally obligated to like you or have you in their life. And like, unfortunately, that's not how human relationships work. But also, I feel like this narrative only harms the people who are already most socially vulnerable and isolated. And you see this play out on apps like this all the time, right? Like a person will talk about a falling out with a friend or a roommate or whatever the case may be. And clearly, even in their own telling of the story, like they are probably just not a very pleasant person to be around. And neurodivergence can contextualize this, but it does not remove the universal social responsibility of using whatever tools we have to be a person that that other people want to be in community with. Because much like free speech, we are all entitled to do whatever we want, but other people are not required to want to stick around for that. And if you're coming off of your like 6th toxic roommate situation in the span of 2 years, like you are probably much better off looking inward and asking yourself what you can do differently. This is also true of every human relationship ever, right? Regardless of neurodivergence, like the only thing that you can truly know and control and change is yourself and your own behavior. And boundaries, by the way, are for you and how you behave, not something you can impose on someone else. Anyway, all of this is to say, if other human relationships are important to you, which maybe they're not, in which case literally do whatever the fuck you want, but if they are important to you, hopefully the most powerful thing that we can take from all of this increased mental health discourse is reclaiming the tools to be a person that other people want to be around. And we are all working with a mixed bag of privileges and constraints when it comes to doing that, but unfortunately it's something that we all have to do. Because despite what apps like this might tell you, you cannot woke scold someone into being your friend.
Okay, so this is another layer of us leading up to the conversation about liberating yourself, actually. I'm going to go back and show you a clip or a section I want you to re-listen to, but Chelsea does this thing that I think is a sort of a reflection of the fact that she doesn't deconstruct or engage with her ADHD enough, because I do think there are a lot of neurodivergents that try very hard to be neurotypical, and I think Chelsea's one of them from my observation. So she doesn't actually allow herself to engage with or have a really like strong relationship with the reality of being ADHD, like the disability aspect. I don't think I've ever heard Chelsea talk about being disabled. And it was funny because I was actually on Elle, the vegan gaze, who we're going to talk to at the end of the week, Friday. She's getting her results back for autism, and she said on her stream, like, oh, is autism like a disability? And I just shared that, like, yeah, it is considered a disability. And she goes, oh, I don't know if I feel disabled. And that's a whole journey. That's a personal journey that takes a long time to deconstruct. It took me a really long time to realize I was disabled, even from fibromyalgia. Like, I'm physically disabled. And I was like, am I disabled? I think the problem is that you just feel like a phony until you really recognize how hard your life is. And then it's really hard to explain it to other people because it doesn't look like my life's very hard. My life looks really easy, but I'm also just really good at making it look easy as well. And that's, sort of because I don't want to put that burden on you of how hard it is. Plus, you don't need me to come here and tell you how hard my life is. And then in some ways, my life is obviously very easy, but it's just, it's a balance between like the reality of being disabled and also the reality that my life is still good while being disabled. And that's really hard because it can be all those things at once, right? Okay. But Chelsea said this in particular. Let me go back.
Wait, all of this is to say, if other human relationships are important to you, which maybe they're not, in which case literally do whatever the fuck you want. But if they are important to you, hopefully the most powerful thing that we can take from all of this increased mental health discourse is reclaiming the tools to be a person that other people want to be around.
Pause. To reclaim the tools to become a person that other people want to be around. That is not how I would phrase. That's not the message I would send. The message, and this is the difference. So Chelsea thinks you don't do anything for yourself. She doesn't think the way you look, the way you act. She hasn't deconstructed patriarchy. She has not liberated herself. Chelsea is absolutely she has not liberated herself. Okay. And I want to tell you how to liberate yourself. Because Chelsea doesn't know how to dress for herself. She doesn't know how to be for herself. She doesn't believe like anything you do is ever for yourself, which is just so sad. Like, I cannot think of anything sadder than hitting almost 40 years old and still thinking you have to live for others in this type of way. But that's why I want to give people the tools to get out of that way of thinking. Because Jesus fucking Christ. But it is learned. It is expected. She grew up exactly in a bubble that I would expect to put that burden on her. And I wish she would just liberate herself from it. So then her thinking, instead of the thinking being, I'm going to be a kind and compassionate person to make sure I care for my community, it's, I want to be a person that people want to be around. I don't really need you to want to be around me. I need to make sure that I live up to an ethical standard that allows me to be a kind and compassionate person. And then if the result is you want to be around me, great. But the focus is not that you want to be around me. Now, maybe her wording, it's the same thing to her. But what I hear is external validation. I'm not externally motivated, to be fair. I do not get any gratification over external let me rephrase. I do not, my life, like this goes back to the money thing we talked about the other day. Like, money is not enough for me. Social validation is not enough for me. If I am not internally motivated, nothing I get from you guys will ever make it worth it. Are you the cherry on top though? Yes. Are you absolutely like a big perk? Like, I love the feedback 100%. but you're not my motivator. And that's because I operate with the understanding that I'm the only one in my brain. I'm the only one who has to deal with this body and this, like, you know? So I think that's important. Chet says that sounds just like masking to me. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. You mean Chelsea? I think Chelsea is giving the advice. Well, I think here's what the problem with Chelsea is. She sees a TikTok, makes an observation, and puts a video on. I do not think she's thinking before she posts, like most people. Do you know what I mean? But I do think that she is mistaking, because I think masking is good. I think masking helps. I have to mask to get through stream. I don't mask all the way, but I mask a little bit to get through stream. I have to, because I'm in constant pain, like constant pain. And trust me when I say this, I don't want to hear myself complain all day, because it is like, if I verbalized everything I was feeling all the time, oh my God, you know what I mean? So I don't. And so I kind of mask and and then after stream ends, I'm like, oh my God, my body's in so much pain. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And then you know what I mean? So I'm not opposed to masking. I think the masking at the expense of you though is bad, which is why I question if Chelsea is suggesting that, which I think you're saying, right? Like, I think she is suggesting that you mask to the point where people want to be around you instead of making sure you show up with care and compassion for your community, which is different. You know, one more time, I want to hear that again.
Hopefully, the most powerful thing that we can take from all of this increased mental health discourse is reclaiming the tools to be a person that other people want to be around. And we are all working with a mixed bag of.
Yeah, wanting to be a person that other people want to be around. Yeah, in my most good faith interpretation of that, she is saying what I'm saying, but because she said it that way, I think as a neurodivergent, I'm going to hear it as external validation, allow bullies to bully me into being someone I'm not, try to appeal to the mean girls, try to be popular. Like, that could be interpreted like so many negative ways, but maybe I'm just interpreting it that way because that's how my brain hears it. Maybe someone in her community is hearing it differently. Let's look at her comments. Comments say neurodivergence is context, not perpetual excuse. Yes, every coworker you've ever been with is toxic or a bully. Every neighbor has been terrible. Now, let me just tell you this. I think Chelsea is talking about a very specific person, and it is like everyone I meet sucks. I'll tell you this right now, okay? The person who ended up becoming a scammer, harasser, stalker years ago, that I had to go to court over, that we, got solved, and we never have to deal with it again. That individual, the first time I met them in person, everything they said made me go, oh, you're unsafe. Every person they ever knew had raped them, allegedly. Every person they ever knew had betrayed them. Every person they had ever met. And I was like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but statistically, this is almost impossible. And something's going on here. And I told everybody, like, do not trust this person. They feel very off. If they are struggling, they can seek help. But like, something is off about this person. Anyway, they ended up being a serial scammer stalker to like a dozen people. And so I wasn't special in that regard. You never are with a stalker. Which, by the way, I just heard Robert Pattinson tell a story. I don't know if this is true. I read it. That he told a story about how he had this stalker and he went out to go meet them because he was so bored at filming that he just like ranted about his life and they got bored with him. It's a psychological problem. You know what I mean? But like, I think the dilemma is like, if you were an adult and your life story is every single person is a problem but me, and every single person has tortured me but me, then yeah, that's a red flag. But I wish this wasn't associated with neurodivergency, because what does that have to do with being autistic? Like, being a scammer has nothing to do with your gender. Being a scammer has nothing to do with your autism. Like, being a scammer has not. So for Chelsea to phrase this as neurodivergence, like, what does neurodivergence have to do with a scammer? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like that that's the framing. And that's what I think is the problem in these conversations. Yeah, like, I just don't, I don't get it. Chat says, does Chelsea not like being neurodivergent? I don't know. Yeah, Chat said that's the Tahani mentality. Do good to make others like you because it's the right thing to do, not because it's the right thing to do. Well, and that's why she went to the bad place, That's why she went to the bad place, That's all I'm saying. That's what we're saying, you know? Okay, let's do this. Let's do one more philosophy-ish video before we transition into our main topic, because I think it will be good. So here's Hank. Hank put out a new video today called One Must Imagine Syphilis Important. Actually, I just realized. Let me get you. For those who don't know. What's a good picture? Well, I guess I could just show you this. So if you guys don't know, you guys maybe have seen this photo, right? He was basically cursed to push this boulder up this hill, right? You probably know the story, have heard it, or have some imagery in your mind of what it is. And the normal conversation around this phenomenon is kind of the idea that eventually it either becomes a joy or it doesn't become a joy. You're either pushing the boulder up the hill over and over again as a punishment, or you find sort of joy within the framework of pushing the boulder up the hill, right? That's like usually the story that people explore, okay? Now, when he says we must imagine syphilis important, that's kind of an interesting word, important. Let's see.
Good morning, John. Great video this week. It reminds me of a thing that I've been working on, which is a Hank's Channel video starting from the title, The Most Important Thing That Ever Happened, which is, you know, that's fun. It's a ridiculous kind of content where you ask a question that, of course, cannot have an answer, and then you try to actually answer it. And you find out things like this question immediately asked two different questions. One was just like answers to the question, like the Big Bang, obviously the most important thing that ever happened. But then if you discard that, then like the formation of life or multicellularity. But then the other question that the question is asking is important how? Important to whom? To outline why this matters, one answer I got a lot on social media and from Callie Moore, one of the hosts of PBS Eons, when I asked this question, was the Chicxulub asteroid impact, which, like, yeah, but that implies that this is important directly for us, for me and for Callie and for you and everybody else. Not, for example, for the dinosaurs. I mean, it was important for them, but not for their future, except for the birds. I apologize, birds. I do find myself being very glad it happened because I quite like existing, but that does put me in the strange position of like rooting for a mass extinction. Like just being pro mass extinction is not a thing that I generally find my...
Pause. This is actually a narrative that follows genocide. The reason men and patriarchy trains us to believe that genocide and war is necessary for advancement is exactly the thought that Hank is having in this idea of being grateful that this happened so we could exist. It's because this idea is that everything terrible that ever happened led to something great. It's not technically true, but it feels true when you think about history. And so that narrative gets recontextualized through genocide. Oh, but after this genocide, which is really terrible for sure, there's going to be this really, really amazing thing though. So just like wait for it. Okay. And that's the hardest part of deconstructing and unlearning that narrative. Because right now, when I say things like we don't need violence, I'm thinking genocide. And then people are like, oh, so like you're not even going to defend yourself. You're just going to like roll over and take it. And I'm like, okay, but hear me out. No genocide. And they're like, okay, but like Brittany, what about war? What about, there is no such thing as a just war. Okay, there's no such thing as a just war. So when you are raised to believe that this is the only way good things happen, you also justify beating your kids. Oh, I'm going to make my kid a good adult by beating the fuck out of my kids, because that suffering, that unwise suffering, will lead to a wise person instead of wise suffering leading to a wise person, which is why on this channel we separate unwise suffering and wise suffering, because we will all suffer. The question is, how do you wisely suffer? Definitely don't beat your kids, okay? And definitely don't do a genocide, and definitely don't go to war. But then, you know, it's that idea of like, well, then when can I defend myself? When it's absolutely necessary, and so much of history shows us how unnecessary violence has been, right?
Myself feeling. So for me, I agree. That's very important. But in the question itself all on its own, I don't actually think important for us is a given. We're just one thing that happened.
And that's also the vegan argument. So Hank's always said vegans are correct, but it's too hard. But this is the other part of veganism, is that it doesn't center us as the end all be all. So he's right that like, ooh, it was good for humans, but it wasn't good for the dinosaurs. It's like,
out of the many that could have happened. Where do you draw the line? Like, what actually is important? And you could do that a bunch of different ways, but one fun answer to that question is important for the existence of importance. Because for a long time after the Big Bang, probably billions of years, there was nothing in the universe around to care, and thus there was nothing that ever felt like one thing was more important than another. There was nothing to suffer starvation or rejoice in success. There was just stuffing. But then care happened, experience happened, suffering happened, pain, joy, all of the things started to happen. And it's unclear when exactly it happened. Of course, we know more, not a ton, but more when it happened on Earth, but there's a lot of universe out there, so who knows? But then there's also the question of why and how did evolution select for sensation? Like, that's a mystery. We don't know how. And not because it's not a good solution to the problem, but you could imagine other solutions to the problem. And more important than that, it isn't clear where it comes from, like how evolution found it to get to it. From where does experiencing actually arise? But putting aside the hard question of consciousness, in my experience exists. Is it an illusion? I don't know. Can experience itself be an illusion? Like a rainbow, just glints of dead light bouncing off dead raindrops, all of it made of normal physical stuff, except the illusion that emerges isn't a band of light, it's a trillion little eyes all seeing light or sound or pain or desire. The observer is the illusion, but the moment the illusion observes, does it not then become real? I did not actually leave aside the hard problem of consciousness. I just dove right back in. My point is, I think importance is important. I think the universe without sensation, very cool, but not this cool. The thing about the story of Sisyphus that makes me most amazed is not that it is a story that we share and can use, like ants releasing pheromones to build a better, more capable colony. That's very cool. I don't want to say that that's not cool. It's extremely cool. It's like top 10 coolest things. But what I think is most amazing is that it does that not by just like being, but by making me feel something. It's very cool that the pheromone of the story doesn't just make me do things, it makes me do things by making me feel things, by being sensed. I don't just think about the story of Sisyphus, I feel about the story of Sisyphus. I perhaps feel about it before I think about it. The joy of Sisyphus might just be in the doing, but another potential joy would be knowing that we still think and feel about him today, that his story, and I know that he's not a real guy, I'm living in the myth here, let's live in the myth, but that his story also continues to shape our world, like a true triumph over the gods. He may have ended up more well-known than the god he tricked, Thanatos, though not more well-known than the god who doomed him, Zeus. Still, that's something. Not a fate I would suffer infinitely for, of course, but as you say, perhaps he does not suffer. John.
So, one of the conversations we'll be talking about at the end of the week for our vegan collaboration is about embodied understanding. So I very logically understand veganism and I'm on board, but I don't feel it in my body yet, though I'm close and closer every day for sure. I'm a year and a half into this journey of being plant-based and questioning my ethics around eating sentient beings. And I think practically I'm 100% on board. Embodied, it's a little something. And this goes back to, I have an embodied idea much more now than I even did as a child. Mind you, we were all children who had to learn to have an embodied rejection of racism and homophobia and transphobia as an example. But I have an embodied feeling of like, when I see a racism, I'm like, something smells. Like when I see a transphobia, I'm like, something stinks, like I'm like, ooh, like it's like literally in my, I'm like, ooh, something's bad. Now, that indication of isn't necessarily an indication of moral goodness. So with veganism, when someone eats an animal, I kind of have a sadness, but I don't have a something stinks yet. But I will tell you this, somebody on my video said, because I was talking about the nuance of like, just because you feel disgust doesn't mean it's valid. Somebody was like, Brittany, like abused women will tell themselves to ignore this feeling of disgust and they'll be abused. And I said, yes, I agree with you. If you as a woman are starting to feel a scared feeling or a gut feeling about your partner, you should probably get away from that partner and then figure out if it's logical or if it's reasonable. But if you are a Christian conservative hanging out with gay people and you feel disgust because two men are kissing, you should probably check that. But also, like, two men kissing isn't a threat to your life. You living with a person who could kill you and statistically will is very different. So I think you have to be very careful about the fact that the same disgust response or the same emotional response that homophobes are feeling can feel just as valid as you, quote, listening to your gut. And that's why I say, like, you have to be very careful. Like, your gut is not a good indicator of reason. I think they've done enough studies on this. But your gut is indication that something is going on, but it's not actually magical. it's just learned behavior. You're recognizing a pattern, but if you grew up in a bad environment, then the pattern you're recognizing isn't good. Like if you're hanging out with a guy and you think he might be gay, you're not Inspector Gadget, you know, Dr. House, whatever. You're not like super smart. You're just looking for a pattern that you've been taught is gay. And then, oh, I discovered he's a homosexual. Okay, and? Well, now in your brain, you're like, oh my God, he was gay. And like, that's a negative. Okay, that gut feeling you were having is just you being trained under the pattern to recognize, right? Women are told to ignore the pattern of abuse they see happening or to the bad feeling they have because they're told that they're too emotional or read into things or he's not abusing you, you're just sensitive. That is learned. That's also why you're a victim of patriarchy, right? So like it's different. Like they're different kinds of feelings, but ultimately we are a feeling creature. And I know I was just talking to my sibling about this the last couple of days. They've been on, you know, I have multiple siblings now who are going plant-based or trying to. And a lot of it is they don't feel it. They're like, I so get it. Like, I so get it. But it's just like this feeling isn't there. That feeling is the click, 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 ting. Like it's the introspection, extrospection embodied. It's the I understand myself and how to liberate myself from feeling entitled to animal flesh, but I don't know how to think of it as a societal problem, except to say maybe harm reduction separate from the sentience and the importance of that sentient being. So again, veganism is the philosophical framework that claims that the sentient individual being has a right to its life, right? That's a very specific idea that I think is like very logically sound. Do I feel it in my body the way I feel it for gay people, trans people, black and brown people, you know, immigrants and all? No, not yet, but I might just. I'm on a journey, as the vegans hate to hear, but I might just, you know? And so who knows what life will look like after that? Now, before we jump into this next topic about how to liberate yourself and not for the world, and the difference between being a nihilist who's like, I don't care about anyone else, I just care about myself, and being a collective community member that also still has to liberate themselves while we live under oppressive frameworks. Okay, that's our next topic. Before we get into it, though, let's take our 2-minute break so we can reset. We'll come back. We'll do this topic, and I think it's going to be good. Okay, you guys can listen to Elvin while I walk away. I'll be right back. Links in the description for Elvin's music. Alrighty. All right, so you can check out Elvin's music link down below. Amazing artist. Pausing 1, 2, 3. All right. Okay, so let me pull this up. Often on this channel, I talk about liberating yourself and not waiting for the world. Now, this might sound like something you've heard before. Like, oh, I don't really care about the world. I'm just going to do my own shit. And like, I'm not going to wait for the rest of you losers to figure. That's not what I'm saying. Okay. I'm saying something very different. I'm talking about liberating your consciousness and being a good community member. I'm going to answer this question and then we're going to get into it. So it says, hey, I love this channel. I've been learning so much about how to express some feelings I have using the language you use. Where can I find a video of you explaining what it means to liberate yourself? I found that concept very interesting and I'd love to hear you talk about it more. Also, I've always wanted to find a video of you explaining the spoons concept because I understand it loosely, but it's new to me. I don't think I have a specific spoons video or liberate yourself video, but just to clarify, spoon theory was created by a disabled activist who I believe had lupus and has lupus. And she tried to explain that throughout our day, and this is very important, this connects completely to liberating yourself. You are only allotted like a certain amount of spoons, energy. And so I always kind of guesstimate that I have like 20 spoons a day, though that's not an accurate number. And it's like, how many things take a spoon? Brushing my teeth takes a spoon, waking up takes a spoon, editing videos takes a spoon, doing streams takes a spoon. And then by the end of the day, you either have spoons left over or you don't. And then sometimes you have negative spoons, meaning tomorrow's Brittany is gonna have to pay up, you know? And so I'm going to be in the negative spoons. And that happens usually on commentary week when I'm editing for 15 hours a day, trying to get this video, you know? I usually end up really messing up everything in my life just to get this video out, which is insane. But spoon theory really matters because it correlates with this concept of liberating yourself, which we're going to get into. So I'm working on a philosophical framework called The Levels. I should just introduce myself so when I clip this, people know my name is Brittany Simon. I do philosophy through pop culture, and I have a special interest in philosophy. My framework is an observational system. It's linked in the description. It's also kind of in the works always. But the idea behind the levels is that you're a person on the planet, and you exist usually within this core framework of the earth being the center of existence, and this is where all the twos exist, okay? Being a 2 is not good or bad. Nothing is good or bad. It's just a observation to know where you are, so you know if you want to stay there or do something different. It's a relationship with your introspection, and it's about having a deeper relationship with your biological experience. So there are 5 levels, right? And the idea is like when you get to this point, you're dealing with a completely different thing. So this point, the center of the universe is the earth. If you're a 4 or 5, the center of the universe is all of existence. It's not just about people. It's not just about the planet. It's about existing as a part of the whole universe. Because usually when we're born into existence, we think we're born in relation to systems of oppression or born into our family dynamics, or our whole life is supposed to be centered around being a good man or a good woman, or our whole life is, you know, the main character in our life, the way we see the world is usually centered around a specific bubble. So there's no problem with that. Bubbles are just perceptions, cultures, ways of thinking. So you could, you know, it just, again, when we have these conversations, language is going to be confusing, but if you have questions, just ask me. I'm going to use a real person story to kind of make this clear of how to liberate yourself, because, you know, when you exist in a world where, you know, you exist in a world, so I'll give it a little bit of a drawing example first. So you're born into the universe, and you usually are born into a family. And your family is the first bubble you really conceptualize. And usually you're not even yourself yet. You're kind of the sibling, the child. You're usually in relation to, like, usually your parents, okay? And that tells you how you're supposed to show up in the world, right? And then you kind of grow up and you're like, but who am I when I'm not just my parents' child? And who am I when I'm not just a sibling? And then that's another part of the journey of having a bubble pop and a realization. On top of that, while you're still trying to figure out who you are as a family, then you start to figure out who you are as a friend, usually. Usually we have friends growing up. And then you try to figure out who you are at school. What kind of a student are you? And then you try to figure out, like, who are you at your job when you graduate, right? So when we're having these conversations, this is all in relationship to 2 bubbles. Now, what if you thought, okay, who am I in relationship to, like, the universe? Okay, the universe. That is a completely different game. And honestly, it's not even important. So you can ignore it because that isn't even the focus today. The focus about liberating yourself should really be focused on where you are in your journey. But first and foremost, you must liberate yourself from your family structures. Okay. So you're liberating yourself from the dynamic of your family, the expectation of your parents, your friends, your school, your job, and so on and so forth. And of course, this obviously incorporates romantic relationships, general socialization, so on and so forth. Okay, so I'm going to give this example. Ramit did a recent show with a guest. This is actually posted this morning, so I watched it on my own, time-stamped it. I Will Teach You to Be Rich. Ramit, he's interesting. I like him. He's a liberal. He's a capitalist, but he's very anti-ICE, Trump, and very pro-LGBT, often features a lot of diverse couples. And he is very good at pointing out gender dynamics, how many times women are being thrown under the bus, the patriarchy. So, generally a good person, maybe not an anti-capitalist, but I'll take it. Okay. So I want you to follow along. I have it time-stamped. We're learning about a young couple, kind of newly married, about a year in. A month before the wedding, the husband confesses that he has like $30K of credit card debt he didn't tell her about. She's shocked. They keep separate finances and they want to be a team. They just don't know how to. And so much of our relationship with money actually comes from what we learned growing up. So we think like, I'll be liberated when I make a lot of money. Well, this couple makes $180K a year and they're trapped. They make almost $200,000 a year. Mind you, she's going to school, and after she graduates, she'll make an extra $40 to $50K a year easy. So this is a couple who will make well over $200,000 a year, and they feel trapped. They feel completely trapped by their choices, their life, the way they were brought up, the way they learned about money. And I want you to see that happen. And then I want to explain to you why, in my opinion, not to make a prescription, but if you want, you should definitely liberate yourself from all of this, all of these frameworks in order to really start living your life to the fullest. And you will be a better community member if you do this. Let's watch and I'll explain as we go. Here's the first part of the story, about 40 minutes in. When do I actually get to enjoy my life is what the section's called.
That while you will achieve your goal, I know you will pay off the debt, that there's perhaps a lack of meaning behind what is happening here. And I also want to help you create a vision of money that is maybe bigger and more meaningful than we fill up account after account for things that may happen. I see you nodding, Sana.
Yeah, I think for so long I've operated where I have to fill up these buckets for everyone else. It feels like I know I don't spend on myself as much as I could. And so part of it's like, when I do have that, like, what would I spend it on?
You don't even know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mind you, she is the technical, more responsible one in the relationship. She has like 30,000 saved. He has 4,000 saved. She's out of debt except for school debt, where she's getting extra masters, extra degrees. She has multiple degrees. He does not. Like, she is, the world is on this woman's shoulders, and she's doing everything over and beyond. And still, this is how miserable her life is, even though she is so successful.
Well, we can figure those out. Son, I noticed that you get emotional when you're talking about your family and about yourself. What do you think's behind that?
I guess the clearest example I could give, if you've watched Encanto, there's the sister Luisa who is super strong, but she also has a ton of things put on her. She feels like she's holding the world. It's a cartoon, but like I relate to her so well. And my family has always talked about.
Pause. Who you are in the story matters. I always say to be a whole human being, okay? Who you are in the story matters. She found a character in a story because we are story-based people. We connect with the characters and we identify with them because it's a real reflection of where she is in her life. Very relatable. And I'm glad that she was able to, she says, oh, it's a cartoon. It's a story. We love stories. We don't care if they're made for kids or adults or who the intended audience is. We love a story. And our life is a story.
About me in a way where like Sana has things figured out. Sana's an overachiever. She's really smart. And so I've always pushed myself. Push. And I know that it took a lot of sacrifices to get here from my family. And I want them to know that I appreciate them. Mm-hmm. And I guess I would say that like my income for sure, or combined income.
Like, this girl is out of spoons. Just to bring it back to the spoon conversation, this girl is out of spoons. No more spoons to give. She's out. She's running on reserves she doesn't have, right? Okay.
Is higher than what my parents ever could, as hard as they worked. And now that I'm moving up in life, I can't move up and just leave them behind. And I have to take them with me. But it's a lot more effort and work to do that than I had ever anticipated.
The word that I'd used when I first met Sana and when I was starting to fall for her is that she's very impressive. Like, everything that she does, she just does it exceptionally well. And I really admired that about her. But now as I'm living with her, I see, I guess maybe the cost of that, and that the toll that it takes on her mentally and physically too.
Just imagine for a moment.
Okay. 46. Okay, hold on.
That you grew up in the South Asian culture. Imagine that you were the oldest child. Imagine that your parents somewhat struggle with their finances and you make more money than anybody in your family. Of course, you are going to be expected to help them. And of course, there is no concept of saying no to your family. That doesn't exist. How would you react? You might react the very same way Sana is reacting. But deep down, she also looks at her own relationship and she's realizing this isn't the type of relationship that I thought I would find myself in. What is she supposed to do? That is where the struggle is. Feeling trapped by so many of these external expectations and not knowing where to go next. There is obviously something going on here. And up next, I'm going to ask her how she grew up with money. It's very illuminating.
Okay, let's skip here.
What do you remember your family saying about money when you were young?
My mom has this notebook. It's essentially a spreadsheet. She has a spreadsheet on paper where she has years of records. And she would like fill it out as she would pay bills every month. And so when I was flipping through her book, that I found out that we were in debt my whole childhood. And I didn't know. My sister and I didn't ask for much, but we got everything that we wanted. My mom was able to achieve a lot with the limited resources that she had. And then the biggest culture shock was just going to college.
Before we get to college.
My gosh. I didn't expect to cry this much.
Okay, goes back to the commentary video I just put out. Money is cultural, money is family, money is mental health. Money is not just this thing that capitalism is convincing you it is, like this game you're playing with your life. It is actually tied to so many things. So when I say liberate yourself from capitalism, I'm saying liberate yourself from thinking of money as the end goal of your existence. And also, you can't turn around and say, oh, my money is for the community. You must then liberate yourself from thinking you owe your parents this amount of dedication in an economy this shitty. Because at the end of the day, we're all adults in the room. And as parents, you cannot put this burden on your children. She'll talk about it later in the interview, but she'll say things like, oh, my parents tell me I don't have to help them. Well, then don't take money from your kid, right? But the truth is like, they're bad with money. She says it, they never learned. They never really locked in. They always live above their means. They didn't figure it out, which a lot of us will have parents that do that. And then the burden is that now we'll have to worry about our parents. And we have been this is just to the immigrants. We have been told that this is a romantic, beautiful thing that our parents gave to us and we're going to give to them. And I think it's actually a trap of hierarchical thinking that ends up being put on kids who never wanted to sign up for it. So not only did our parents bring us into existence against our will, but now we have to pay bills for adults who didn't figure it the fuck out. And it's like, I would be happy to help my parents, because I know my parents didn't do that to me. My parents did prepare. They did settle their retirement. If my parents need money, they're actually in a hard position. They did, and they were responsible enough to not put that burden on us as kids. And so if they need our help, I think we're more than happy to give. And I think that's what I can ask for most parents is like, don't put this on your kids, because you do not understand how hard this economy is. You don't understand what we're going to be facing. And by the way, they're double income, no kids right now, 188 a year, and they are mentally struggling. Now, I know the instinct from a lot of us will be like to judge them. You're making so much money. What are you complaining about? Because money has nothing to do with happiness. It has something to do with temporary happiness, meaning you're maybe letting go of some stresses. But if you have lifestyle inflation, if you are paying for other people's bills, if she's sending money to her family every month, it's not going to matter how much money you make if there's no money. It doesn't matter if you make $500,000 a year if your bills are $499,000, whatever. It doesn't matter. because now you don't have any monies. You know, the whole point of making more money is only good if you have a bunch of extra money, like a bunch. Because otherwise you're just one paycheck away from being in debt again. You're one paycheck, and they're in debt, by the way, because she went back to school. They're like in 100,000 something of debt. They're for school and his credit card and cars. So like, you know, when we have these conversations, and I'm going to say liberate yourself, I'm saying we have to start with family structures, right? So if you start with your family structure, let me just build you a picture really fast, and then we'll continue watching. Okay, so if you say, I'm born into a family, okay, this is your family bubble, and you say, I love you, family, but I'm going to go on my own way. This is like the adventure story. The dilemma is like, you're not going on your adventure to find yourself, to abandon your family. You're doing it to bring the wisdom back to the collective. The only difference is like when you get sucked into individualism, like American style, individualism, capitalism style, you go on the journey and you actually don't bring it back to the community, and then your community suffers. Same thing with parents who don't prepare so their kids can't go on this adventure. Like these parents are holding their kids back from going out to bring knowledge to the village. So the irony is like we all have to do our part so the cycle continues upward, or the cycle continues in a healthy direction. So you owe it to yourself to liberate yourself from being kept in the village and traveling out to then come back with the wisdom to the village to help the village grow. Like we need adventurers. And then when the adventurers come back, they can settle in the village if they want, or they can be the connection that the village has to another location. Like I'm in Europe, but my family's in America. I've now created like a connection. Now there's villages in multiple areas. And that's also the reality of people who move, immigrants, migrants. We end up building connection globally. Now everywhere our family goes, there's someone there. And that is like a big community. That's like when you signal like, I have a big community. There are Syrians everywhere. And I feels like I could go anywhere and I probably have somebody that I could know, or somebody who knows somebody. And that makes me feel better. But that's also my choice to even think about that connection, because I have other siblings who would never think about that connection as being important. But to me, because I wanted to liberate myself, I was always the black sheep, I was always the rebel, but I wanted to liberate myself to bring the information back to the community. Most people liberate themselves temporarily or slightly into individual living, which is a type of liberation, especially if you come from an oppressive family. But it's like a isolated liberation. So then it's not community liberation. So then we liberate ourselves. Hold on, let me get my paint back actually. The goal is, hopefully, depends on your goal, but I would hope that we would liberate ourselves out of our initial bubble into greater bubbles, okay, in which it is not just us, but many people. And we would gather the wisdom around from all these people, and we would take it back to our village, but also our village could start to actually venture out and be like, oh, the world doesn't revolve around us alone. There's a whole world out there. And maybe these people from these villages can go into our village and take back information to their villages. Because it's not just our village doing it, it's everybody's village doing it. And then now you're not even just liberating yourself singular, you've now contributed to all of these communities liberating themselves as well. Because the idea is like we are sharing knowledge. The idea is like we are helping our communities, we're helping the world. But it has to start with you being curious and wanting to venture out and wanting to break those generational curses, those expectations. Because if you're not going to do it and no one else is going to do it, then how are we exchanging information? How are we sharing? How are we building? Right? So, okay, with that in mind, let's go back to this.
It's okay. Do you cry when you talk about your family in everyday conversation?
No.
Why do you think today?
I carry the weight of expectations on me, whether it's I put them on myself or my family put them on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like I'm slowly getting crushed under it. And so this is how it's released.
This exists, and this goes back to what we talked about the other day, in your family dynamics and in your activism dynamics. You will feel the weight of this crushing pressure from the world and the atrocities you see in front of you and from your family dynamics. I went to therapy and I explained to my therapist, like, I feel such a weight from my obligation to help save the world and my obligation to help save my family. And my therapist was like, who told you it was your job to save anybody? And I was like, I don't know, the world, you know, like The world taught me that. You know what I mean? I guess, right? So again, when we have these conversations, we're having a conversation that recognizes like we're animals on a planet. We're only as educated as we are. We only know what we do know. But the best thing we can do is have the humility and the wisdom to be curious, to seek more information, to update our village as we learn as well, and then to radically accept that the world won't necessarily listen just because you're doing the work. This is the part of saying liberate yourself specifically, because like I can't get my family to listen to me just because I want them to. Like I can't encourage my family. Like even if I bring the village like the information, it doesn't mean the village is going to hear me. And that's why you have to liberate yourself, and you can't wait for the rest of the world to liberate themselves because they might not be ready. But you still should do it, and you should still tell them, and you should still give people tools, and you should still love people and be compassionate, because that's going to be the world forever and always. That's why I say bitterness, unwise anger, angry for the world is better than at the world. This is why I say like you calling people slurs is not going to liberate your community. It's just you're attached to this idea that maybe if I say a slur enough, they'll change, but they're not going to, right? So now you just have to live with the fact that you called people slurs. And now you're trapped. Now you didn't liberate yourself. Because how could you be liberated and feel powerful using slurs against people if you want to live in a world where we don't use slurs against people? It's not to say that you shouldn't say a slur, period, because there's reclaimed slurs. There's a context for that. It's to say if we are using slurs at people in any context, then the conversation is like, is this ethical? It can be. Now, here's the nuance. It actually could be technically within reason, something like tone policing. Like you have a person who's really under a lot of pressure. They're really expressing themselves in a way that is like within context, fair. You know, it's not their typical way of speaking, but in this moment, they're just so upset. And you're like, okay, we get it. Like, you don't mean it, but you're okay. The dilemma is a lot of people use this like, they didn't mean it. They just said it for all the wrong people. So we have to have the wisdom and discernment to know someone's in a bad place and they're really explaining something that's like, this is why therapy is so powerful, because you can say things to your therapist in the worst way possible. And it's their job to understand what you mean. But the rest of the world, one, they can't trust you. They don't know you. So it's hard for them to give you that grace. And two, even your friends and family might not have the wisdom or educational background to really understand what you're even saying. So they might even take you like literal. And then they'll be like, oh, remember that time you said this thing? And it's like, oh my God, dude, I didn't even mean that. I was trying to express an emotion, you know? So again, the reason we can't liberate the world is because there's 8 billion people all going through it at once, all the time. But you can liberate yourself. And you can try to liberate your family. And I do think it can spread to your village. And I do think it can influence your country. And I do think it can influence the world. But influence is not the same thing as changing, because the main requirement needed for all of this to change is for you to change, which we'll see in this dynamic. The world can't change unless you do. And that's the you is everybody, 8 billion people with new babies being born every day. Okay.
To express the feeling of having all these expectations put on you.
Most of the time, I'm great. I don't feel weight. It's just every once in a while, it just piles up. Yeah. And then this is how it really sits.
Yeah. How would you describe that?
That I have a lot of things on my plate and that I try not to show it to other people. That I try to do everything without looking or sounding stressed.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work to do that. And sometimes when I try to hide it from other people, that's work in itself too.
Yeah. You know, I don't get affected by stress like most people. I can take on a lot, like run a company, do all kinds of stuff. And for a long time, I told myself like, I don't feel stress the way that others, I just don't, I don't feel it. And then my company went through a tough time and we had to do serious layoffs. And during that time, I found myself waking up gasping for air. I never had this happen in my life. Ever. I went to see the doctor looked inside my mouth and basically said, nothing's wrong. Do you have any stress in your life?
Pause. Guys, stress is going to kill you. This is why we're so tired and we're so stressed under the economy. But like, this is why I'm saying stress is going to kill you. And it doesn't matter because you'll be replaced under this framework of capitalism. You'll be replaced. And this is why I'm saying we have to dismantle the system that's so willing to replace us. We have to dismantle the system that thinks we are nothing more than little robots meant to be stressed until we like collapse, right? So this is why I say liberate yourself by recentering and grounding yourself in a purpose, in a meaning. We were talking about this meaning crisis. Vervaeke talks about the meaning crisis. We are in a meaning crisis, but we've always been in one. There wasn't a time on earth that people weren't in a meaning crisis. And so now we're just very aware of it. It's like we're having the realization that like, oh, I think we're suffering. Instead of before, everyone just thought this is life. You ever meet an immigrant who's just like, this is life. Suffering is life. You must suffer. That's what you do. You go to work, you build. Okay, right? And I'm saying, but what if we didn't just live to unwisely suffer? What if we didn't sacrifice? What if we all lived the life we wanted, but it was also an awareness that we needed to be joyful and ethical and kind and compassionate? But stress is going to kill you. Women get heart attacks just as much as men, but the typical stereotype is that men are getting heart attacks. Women die of heart attacks all the time. It's just media convinces you they aren't, but they are stressed. We are all stressed. And so when we have these conversations, you have to be aware that it's not even a gendered issue. It's a we are stressed issue. We are stressed. And this is why I say we have to learn to rest. It's something I'm always trying to work on. We have to learn to accept like, oh, I'm stressed right now. And you're going to be stressed. Like that's a normal part of being a biological creature on the planet. You're going to feel, including when you watch the news all the time, or including when you keep up with stories, like it's very stressful. The dilemma is like, it's always been this way forever. So you do deserve a break. There is going to be no time in history in which there is not a genocide happening, in which there isn't a bad thing happening, the idea that like, how can I rest when something bad is happening? Guys, there's always something bad happening. The Palestinian genocide has been happening for 75 years. You weren't stressed 30 years ago. You weren't stressed 20 years ago. You just found out about it and now you're stressed all of a sudden, but it's always been there. Okay. Like it's always going to be there. The issue is like, you must rest and accept responsibility and show up for your community and accept that all of these things work at the same time always. 8 billion people on the planet, a lot of bad shit is happening all the time. That doesn't mean you give up and shut yourself off. So the person who hears me and goes, oh, Brittany says I can liberate myself. I don't have to pay attention. I don't have to care and I can just be isolated and I can go about my life. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying isolate yourself from the realities of life so you don't have to be responsible. I'm saying learn to be responsible by being responsible with how you're being responsible. Don't take on too much burden that you collapse. Don't take on so much of the responsibility that you're alone. Be responsible with how you're being responsible. So you can be a good community member and good to yourself.
I laughed. Like, yeah, I have a huge amount of stress, but I simply never connected the two because I don't feel stress. And I remember walking out of there. I was in my mid to late 30s and being like, for the first time, I realized, as silly as this sounds, oh, I'm just the same as everybody else.
Hold on. Chet says, sounds like a joke. Just rest. How does a poor human being rest? I'm going to assume you're being good faith, right? Like, this is a very serious question. And you're saying, how do I rest if I'm poor? Define poor. Because are you poor or are you middle class suffering under this economy? If you're poor, it's a very different answer. If you're actually poor, it's a very different answer. If you're middle class and struggling under the economy, it's a different answer. If you're rich and suffering under the economy, it's a different answer. So first, you have to acknowledge, are you poor? Do you think you're poor? Because you might be poor. Also, poor is subjective, but it's really specific because like these people are making $180,000 a year and they are stressed. Like they are making $180,000 and they feel like they're poor. So are you poor? Or, okay, that's very important, right? The second is you need community. You can't do it alone. Without a doubt, we need community. And this is why we must liberate ourselves and reach out for community. Like one of the things that helped me in my liberation journey was to realize that I had expectations of every person to be sort of like the media I grew up in or my ideal situation, instead of being so grateful for casual friends I just do bowling with, friends I have deeper relationships with. Like when I took my autism assessment, my assessor asked me, do you have a lot of friends? I was like, yeah, I have a ton of friends. He goes, how many close friends do you have? And I said, oh, like a handful. That's good though. You're not supposed to have 10 close friends. You're supposed to have a lot of people in your community that you can go to for different reasons, if possible, because you build community with people. But realistically, you're supposed to have a handful of close friends, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, very close friends that you really go to. And even when I say go to, it could still be a stranger could give you the best advice of your life. right? So it's about balancing this idea of like where you're at specifically and then what tools will work for you. So of course I'll speak more generally today. I'm not sure that everything I say will resonate, but it will change for you. Okay? It just depends. It depends on how we're operating and how much money we're making and like what our life is like. Because again, I'm not making much more than I ever made in my life, but I feel more rich now than I ever felt making the same amount 10 years ago because my mental health was a mess. I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't focused. I wasn't locked in. I didn't know my purpose. But the money for me changed. I did have to, if you're really poor, you have to make more money. That's true. Okay. But your money isn't just something you make. It also ties into your childhood, your upbringing, your expectations, why you're making money, why you don't have money. Do your parents have money? Do they teach you about money, right? So at some point, if you're not making enough, you do have to make more money. But it's not about making money. This is a philosophy channel. It's about why you make money, including why do you wake up every day? Why do you exist every day? Why do you keep going every day, right? So again, it's a matter of what is your relationship with self before it is what is your relationship with money. Does that make sense? Chat says, I realize when look at rich people houses this year with 100K, you can maybe get a 400K McMansion, so probably not 1 milli house, 100K, 200K is the new middle class. Well, and I think this again goes back to like, what are we identifying as? This is important, who you tell yourself you are in the story, right? Like she tells herself she's strong and capable and doesn't feel stressed most of the time until it piles on and then you're really feeling the stress, right? Chat says, what if you've fallen through the safety net? My family has fallen apart due to interpersonal conflict and gossip. I don't have friends because I'm invested in family and now without support. Well, I think it's nuanced and dependent on your situation because I don't know it very personally. I would say that it starts with you meditating in a room by yourself. This is where you start to become, and we got to keep watching, guys, because this is going to come up in a lot of this conversation. You got to decide, are you living for you or for your family? You must always live for you first, always. And then you live for your friends and family. If you're married, you live for you as a couple first, and then you live for your community. Because these are different kinds of dynamics. They have to take priority. You deserve to live for yourself first and then your community. Because the truth is, your community will be hit. Your life will be stressed. And one of the things we can do for our community is take care of our side of the street. And so when we come together, we can really help each other in times of true need, right? So there's a lot here that I think needs to be, I don't know how much of it is relating exactly to your exact backgrounds, but keep it in mind, right? So let's keep going and then we'll get into it.
I'm just the same. I may have a higher threshold for dealing with certain things, but I'm just the same as everybody else.
I know I am too.
Before you went to college, what was going on with money in your household with your mom and dad?
My mom, for as long as I can remember, has always managed the money. In adulthood, I learned that when my sister and I were really young, like my dad had taken out debt at very high interest rates, and my mom studied math, and so she understood what the cost of that was. And so she said, you know what, like you work a lot, so why don't I take care of this for you? And so she managed things to get us out of the debt.
Mm-hmm. This sounds extremely familiar.
Yeah.
Like identical.
I know.
She's repeating her background. She's repeating her story. She is her mother, right? She married a man who lied to her and got debt without telling her. They also keep their finances separate so they don't fully trust each other. There's layers to this. Who you marry matters. Who you make babies with matters. How you're open with boundaries, relationship with your family matters. And this is why I say when I liberate yourself, I'm going to make you one more picture, okay, before we continue. Okay? Again, this is layered. This is everyone's coming from a different place. Remember that. When you liberate yourself, it is yourself alone. Okay? You have to do it alone first. But no one ever does anything alone. So you also are a product of everything that came before you. Whoops. Okay? So but it is just you. You are meditating in a room by yourself and saying, okay, what do I want? And how do I show up for my community? You're saying, what are my actual values? What do I actually want from my life? What will actually make me happy without being selfish, without it coming at the expense of other people? Think about it as being a queer kid. As a queer kid, I had to say, okay, Brittany, what do we want as a gay kid? what do we want with our life? Well, we want to be gay. Even though there were times in my life where I was like, I won't put that pressure on my family. I'll just marry a guy. It will be easier. I said, no, I need to live for myself and love my family at the same time. I deserve to be with the woman of my dreams if I want to be with the woman of my dreams, right? Don't I deserve this? Don't I deserve to marry the woman of my dreams? Yes, I do. Thank you. Okay. So I have to live for myself. It's unfair to ask me to do otherwise. And yet I have managed to marry the woman of my dreams and be there for my family with boundaries, right? With boundaries, right? Chad said, what if you have BPD? I have BPD. I'm diagnosed BPD. DBT, lots of philosophy, a lot of awareness of self. Look up Marsha Linehan. I don't know if you mean borderline or if you mean bipolar, but I have borderline, or I was diagnosed borderline. I'm in remission now, but 80% of borderline people go into remission, guys, with the right therapy. So when you're ready, okay, DBT, philosophy at the same time, and ethics. You're born into a world where you don't know anything. You also have to decide, who am I? What are my ethics? What is my purpose in existence? And it's a journey. It took me 30 years to really start to solidify my values. 30 years. 30. So you know what I mean? And then it started my journey, really. I'm 7 years in, I'm 37, of really starting my life. After 30 years of trial and error and debt and failure. And I just made a video about finances and philosophy over on my second channel, Bert Simon, BERT. And it covers a lot of this because, girl, I have been there, out of debt, in debt, credit score of 400, credit score to 700, credit, $10K saved, $0 saved. I've been every single girl you could ever think about. Okay. There is so much hope at the end of the tunnel, but it takes so much work. So be kind to yourself, be compassionate, and then one day at a time, right? One day at a time. Okay. And I'm the oldest daughter, and there's a lot of burden when you're one of 10 kids, let me tell you. Chad says, how long did it take for you to start feeling like you were getting anywhere with answering those questions? I'm only 25, so maybe just too young. But every time I try to ask myself these questions, I get stuck in life. Is even ethical to live? And then it gets depressing fast. I'm very serious about that 30-year-old age, guys. At 25, I was a messy mess. If you are already here at 25, I feel like you're years ahead of where I was at 25. If you're already part of this community on a daily basis and you were listening to these streams, I feel like you're already ahead of where I was at 25. Okay? So that's the good news. Good news. Because it really was 30. I was reading all these books and I was engaging in all these communities, but I really didn't even truly find myself until I was 30. And even then, I just met her. I just got to know the girl, okay? And then it took me, I'm still learning to know myself all the time. So I really, really want to give yourselves a little gold star. You know what I mean? Because, you're in a great place. You're not going to figure it out when you're 25 unless you're going to figure out when you're 25. Some people figure it out when they're 25. Beautiful. Some people figure it out at 40. Beautiful. Everybody's on their own timeline. But if me figuring it out at 30 gives you hope, stay hopeful. Because I feel like I was old, but at the same time, I'm 7 years into that journey and I'm feeling more alive than I've ever felt my whole life. Getting older just gets better. My sibling was just telling me, they love getting older because it's further away from their toxic years. Exactly. Nothing better than getting older and further away from all the years you fucked up. Because there will be a time, guys, where you're in it and you're like, damn, I'm fucking up. And then there's going to be a time where you are so far from that era of your life, you almost don't remember it. It's like you almost don't even know who she was, they were, he was. You know what I mean? You're just like, who is that? And that's what I want you to get towards, right? But you see this couple here, they're in their 20s, they're young, basically newly married, about a year or so in, and they're in it. They are in a spiral, but here they are, multiple degrees, 180K a year. They've accomplished so much of what I'm sure many of you would want, and yet miserable because they're carrying the burden and they haven't liberated themselves from the burden of just their family dynamics alone, let alone the burden of the world around them, right? Okay, let's keep going.
Your mom studied math. What did you study?
Also math.
Your mom managed the money, made a lot of plans of getting out of debt.
Yeah.
that happening. Although I will say, Arham, you made a plan as well.
Yeah. I wanted to make sure I could solve it for Arham today.
Mm-hmm.
I could pay off his debt today, but it is his. And I do want him to take away the lesson of what it takes to do that. And like, I've tried my best to hold myself back as much as possible. But at the end of the day, this is Arham's work to do.
That's interesting. This is quite strong of you, creating a boundary, saying it's important for you to learn this lesson. I could solve it today, but I'm not going to. That's amazing. Have you ever...
Pause. Before he gets into the next topic, which is really good. I couldn't do marriage this way. I couldn't get married to somebody that I watched suffer getting out of the debt they created when I knew I had the money in savings or I knew I could help them. Because I don't want to be on a team with someone who puts me through this anyways. A month before they got married, he confessed he had $30K of debt. She shouldn't have married him. The truth is, she married the wrong person because she married a person who lied to her. And now she has to deal, just like with her father, she married her father, a person who lied to his wife about taking out all this debt, or a person who accrued all this debt while the wife was stressed, right? So even though I want them to work on their marriage and I'm not always a divorced girly, I just feels like compared to the marriage I'm in now, oh my God, guys, like I cannot even explain to you what an intimate process it has been getting out of debt with my partner. And it was my debt. My partner didn't come with debt in the marriage. It was you guys know the story. It's my debt. And it took us 3 years to get out of that debt. 3 years of living, and I don't recommend this, very frugally. It was very stressful. Like it was the most stressful thing. And when we had 8 months left, I locked in with my partner and I said, the next 8 months is going to be very, very stressful, but we're almost done with this debt. Spoiler, it actually took us less than 8 months because I got a couple of good paychecks and I just put every single extra penny towards that debt. And we lived very frugally, very like we haven't bought clothes, we haven't gone out. I just told you, I got we're now debt free and we have some spending money, but our spending money is still just $20 a month or $20 a week. I mean, $20 a week is still just our spending money a month. You know, and what did I do? I created art. The moment I had some extra money, I started getting back into my hobbies. Boom. I started drawing, but that costs money, And so I think a lot of people, there's like a process to this, but they're already married. They're in it together. But I think the reason, and they get into this, is like she doesn't trust him because it's not fully healed. But that's the problem. So that's why some people say, Brittany, you need to separate, like you need to have separate finances in case you marry a man like this. Well, I just wouldn't marry anybody like this. And then if they were lying to me, then I'm just a victim of a scammer. Right? Then I'm a victim to a liar. But I wouldn't marry somebody who confessed to me a month before our wedding. Hey, like I lied to you. Like, heck no. But I recognize not everyone can do that because by the time I got married, I was also at a different place than she is. She hasn't even liberated herself from her parents. She's paying her parents' bills. She hasn't even liberated herself from her family structure. How is she not going to marry a man who would take advantage of her if her own parents are taking advantage of her?
Applied that same thing to your own family?
No.
Why the disconnect?
See, he said, okay, go listen.
Creating a boundary, saying it's important for you to learn this lesson. I could solve it today, but I'm not going to. That's amazing. Have you ever applied that same thing to your own family?
No.
Why the disconnect?
My mom single-handedly runs our home and she tries not to show her stress. And I know I learned it from her. I want to do as much as I can to take that stress off of her. And so even though she tells me not to help them with rent, I know that they can figure it out. But I don't want, I also know that my mom would be the one to figure it out instead of my parents together figuring it out. And so I don't want that extra burden on my mom. And so I try to reduce it for her.
Does it work?
Yes and no. Every single month she tells me that I feel guilty from taking this from you. I, as a parent, should be giving to you. But I tell her that no, I want to, that I promised that I would. And I'm
See, in that situation, I think the mother is failing as a mother. Both her parents, as far as the story goes, are able-bodied and available. Not that you can't be disabled and work, but they're more than capable of going out and providing for themselves, let alone for their kids, right? So the fact that she's like, oh, I feel so guilty taking this from you, but she's taking anyways. If she sees this podcast and sees how distraught her daughter is and doesn't change her life tomorrow, what are we doing? Now, I understand I don't really believe in free will, and I get that. So I also think the mother and father are probably trapped in their upbringing, their thought process, their own trauma. God knows they probably haven't gone to therapy. And so that's also a dilemma. But one of the things I'll just say generally is before you have children, please do not burden them like this. This is so unnecessary when everybody could be laboring for the community. It's all falling on her shoulders. So now she has a husband who can't keep up, parents who can't keep up. And then even later in the interview, he says his dream life is also being able to provide for his family. I'm sorry, are you guys rich? They make $180K a year. They're about to make $220K a year. They're not rich enough to pay for 5 people, 6 people, 7 people. Hello? Get a job. Everybody get together and get a job. Or everybody participate in a way that makes sense. But like, why is this one single woman? Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we putting it all on her shoulders?
I'm gonna live to that promise.
It's interesting. After you got married, you effectively told Arham, if you don't make a plan for this and deal with it, this relationship can't continue. You said that, right?
Mm.
You set a boundary, maybe even changing the terms of your promise. And what was the result of that? What did he then do?
Arham's learning now.
Yeah. He's going through some tough times, but he's made a plan. He's executing on it, right?
Mm.
You changed the terms of your promise. And the result has been, would you say negative or positive?
It's positive.
Very positive. And yet you can't change the terms of your promise with your parents, specifically your mom.
Listen to her reasoning. Listen to the reasoning. And this is cultural conditioning. This is why I say you have to first liberate yourself out of your family dynamics. Wait until you hear her reasoning, right? And yes, they're both working, but because of their financial situation, she's the more responsible financial partner that more people rely on. So they are both working, but he's not available to help.
Even though your mom has told you every single month, don't do this.
Mm. I don't know if this is going to make my sense, but Arham and I are partners. And so I expect of him what I expect of myself.
Mm-hmm.
But my parents are my parents. They're above me. I don't expect my parents to be the same as me and Arham.
It's interesting. There is a hierarchy, but we might look at it and say you treat them almost as if they're below you, below as if they couldn't figure things out for themselves, like a child. I don't mean to insult.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it's not coming across. I'm very sensitive to the South Asian dynamics here. I'm very well aware of them. It's, it'd be easy for somebody who's raised here with no cultural knowledge to be like, just cut them off.
Right.
Obviously, that's not what I'm saying.
Right. And that's not what I'm saying either. That's not what Brittany is saying either. Because I understand these dynamics are very complicated, but I'm saying liberation is complicated. It is not easy. If it was that's why cutting off your parents is not liberation. That's why saying, fuck the world, I'm going to go live by myself and be a crypto bro is not liberation. Because that's copium. I'm saying this is a very hard process. It's going to take a lot of work, right? It's going to take so much a deconstruction and you have to you almost have to become a brand new person. Growing up in my household, I was second mom. And then I was told oh, anything the kids do that is bad is Brittany's influence. And so you're so strong, Brittany, you're so inspirational, you're so amazing and smart. You can influence the kids to be better or worse. And it just feels like you're always influencing the kids to be worse. Mind you, the worst is just gay or liberated or liberal or something or whatever. But I think the dilemma is here, you don't know how much that impacts you and how much you have to free yourself of that burden and say I'm not going to do that anymore. I am no longer going to be responsible for this. And yet I still feel very responsible for my siblings. I still feel a lot of stress when my siblings tell me, oh, Brittany, I'm doing this. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Oh God. Financially in the back of my head, I already made a list of the siblings and I'm like, we're probably gonna have to pay their bills later. But that's only in an emergency. I'm not saying it's not hard. I'm saying it's nuanced and you still deserve to liberate yourself. And it's okay to ask the people in your life who are adults to get their shit together. You're allowed to say, Mom and Dad, I love you. Get your fucking shit together. I love you so much. You got to get your shit together. It's okay to tell your siblings, I love you. I'm here for you. You got to get your shit together. Okay?
when you say hierarchy,
And if you need help, we will figure out that help. Like I said, not everybody has to bring in a paycheck. It's not about everybody paychecking. It's about everybody laboring. Everybody must labor for the community. Not everybody does not need to bring in a paycheck, but everybody must labor for the community.
you see them as above you because that's what we are taught. Parents are above you, teachers are above you, et cetera, et cetera. But in a way, your expectation for Aram has raised his abilities, raised. And yet the way that you have built this financial relationship with your parents and your mom especially has not raised their abilities. Fair?
I would say that because I'm able to help them every month, their quality of life has gone up because they are in a nicer place now than where we lived before.
I think that's totally respectable. How about your quality of life?
My quality of life is also better than where I was as a child, but I'm also under a lot of stress.
Thank you for walking me through how you grew up with money. I think it's very illuminating.
Okay, I want to say a couple of things here. First, let me just double check my next timestamp. Okay. First and foremost, there's 8 billion people on the planet and all of you have your own issues. And I could never, in one video, cover all of those issues. So remember, I'm giving you tools to take back to your real life. This is just like a class you're in to gather information and then go home and see what works. This is not me saying it has to be this way. You have to follow this script. I'm just telling you what has helped me and what I see when I'm observing others, and why I say like liberation is such a personal and intimate relationship with self that does better your community because you're more available. I'll just say this too. It's not about how much money you make. I really believe this. You do have to make a certain amount of money, but it's not exactly the amount of money you make because they're making 180 and they're stressed, right? Look how stressed they are. You see people making, I saw a lesbian couple the other day on Ramit's show. This is I Will Teach You to Be Rich for those asking. And their net worth was 6 million and she was still stressing about money. It's mental health. It's related to your family structure. It's related to fears of the economy. It's not always about how much you make. I will tell you this, to be generally transparent, but not like to the number. Generally, I make after tax 55 to 60,000, and I am very happy. And we survive with 2 people, and we're completely content. Okay, do we have to save up for a lot of years? Yes. Do we have to be locked in? Yes. If I was locked in my 20s, would I already have a house by now? Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, I would. Yeah, I would, bitch. But I wasn't because I was battling my mental health and I was battling my family drama and I was battling all the stresses. But I've always made about that much money after I always worked multiple jobs. Okay. When I only had one job, I was making about 20K a year because minimum wage. But if I had 2 minimum wage jobs, I was making about 40 to 50K. And then if I had 3 jobs, I was making about, I was always making that money. But when my mental health got better, when my philosophical health got better, you just make different decisions. Like, hell yeah, I would have had a house. If I had this brain that I have now today, all those years ago, I would have had 4 houses, but I didn't. So here we are with 0 houses. Okay, but I've always made good money. All my siblings are middle class. We've all made good money out of high school. Okay, even in our worst years, like my worst financial years, I still could have done more with it than other people if my mental health was better. And that's why I say being a whole human being is your relationship with your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your philosophical health, and who you are in the story, right? This girlie here is just not there. 180K and she's miserable. 180K and she's in debt. 180K and she can't pay her bills. 180K, it's not how much money you're making unless you're making very, very little. Okay, and even then, can we just lock in here? What about the community members that make $0? Does their life not get to be fulfilled? My partner doesn't make any money. Do they not get to have a good life? They don't make any money. So you can make $0 and be very joyful and content with life. It depends on the role you're playing in the story. What about stay-at-home partners, stay-at-home parents? They don't make any money, not technically. but they contribute, they labor for the family. So if you have the type of family where all of you live in the same household and you all contribute to the bills, that's a way to do it. That's something, okay? Or if you have a family where one person works and everybody labors in a different way, that's another structure. Or you're a single family with a single person and you have a single income and then you labor for your family, that's valid, okay? So that's something to think about, right? Chat said, I think it's sad we have to pay for our existence. What is the system we built? And that's the irony is like, look, okay, pause. Take capitalism out of it. If we didn't have capitalism, we would still have to labor. The thing that makes it hard is the systems of oppression, but it would still be hard without them. And I think this is very hard for people to allow for it to be true, but I'm telling you right now, life is really hard. Please consider that before having children. It's not easy, no matter what. It is simply joyful. My life is easier, but it's still very hard. And it's joyful. The suffering I experience is more joyful, a sense of responsibility, but it's still fucking hard. It's hard. Existing is hard. We keep telling ourselves one day existence won't be so hard. It's always fucking hard. It can't not be hard. The only reason it's easier is because we have privileges, but it's not less hard. People are still going to die from cancer. Your brother's going to shoot his brains out. Your child's going to come to you and tell you their teacher touched them. You're going to have a genocide. The economy's going to take a dip. Like, you're going to have to contend with your father who's a racist. Like, you're still going to have to deal with real shit. It makes it easier when you have a good income. But even with my income, I don't have a lot for a true emergency. Guys, that's why I say to you, next emergency, if I get a big enough emergency, I'm back in debt because I don't make that kind of money. But the stress level is different. When I was in my 20s, it felt like, who cares? I'm going to kill myself. Now that I'm in my 30s, I was like, what are you going to do? Life. It's stressful, but like, what are you going to do? Life happens. And then you die. But at least now I know what it's for. I understand the purpose of my life. When you don't have the purpose, everything gets fucked. So yes, you liberate, because this stream is about liberating yourself without expecting the system to be liberated, because it's not going to in our lifetime. You don't deserve to live a shitty life until you can't say, I'm not going to wait to live until capitalism is dismantled. You can't wait. You can't wait. And then also, you can't tell me we live under systems of oppression and you keep making babies. If the world truly thought, genuinely your heart of hearts, the world was as bad as you say, why are you making children? Make it make sense. Because secretly, you could still have a good life even in a horrible world. I think you know that. I think something about your brain, or maybe lack of free will, knows somehow we end up having still good lives even though we're suffering. And for some reason, for most people, that's worth it. They like being alive. I'm pretty indifferent to existing, but if I'm going to be here, I really need to have a good life, right? So when you think about it, you got to think about it. And also, we're trained. It's a cultural thing. It's an expectation. But that's why I'm saying you need to deconstruct even the need to make a baby. You need to deconstruct the need to, I'm saying question everything, but don't put it on other people yet when you're talking about liberating yourself. Liberating yourself is internal processing, guys. It's an internal process. If you had asked me, Brittany, can you make a stream about liberating yourself from, like, liberating society from the systems? That would have been a different stream. But I'm trying to tell you how to liberate yourself as an individual so you can be a better community member and better to yourself. It has to be all in here. It can't, do you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Does anybody have questions? Okay. Because I know this might be confusing, but you're asking this is a big question you're asking me, and I'm trying to answer like a really big fucking question, right? Okay. Let's see. Chat says, the poor mentality of even when you get to the better financial places, saving like jars and Tupperware because it's perfectly good containers. Well, talk about learned behavior for sure. Like hoarding, I had to learn how to like not hoard everything in case I needed it later. That's something I had to unlearn, right? Chat says, when poor people become rich, their network around them isn't rich. And this is the hidden cost of progression and poverty. Those trying to progress in their community have more costs. Sure. Yeah, like I've definitely lost friendships as I got healthier. I lost friendships as I became a better person. That happened, right? You lose community all around you. I haven't talked to my parents since November, open with boundaries, because we won't talk about family trauma. And I need to talk about that before we move on and pretend everything's cool, right? I still talk to my siblings and try to help them, but like it's complicated and I don't talk to all of them anyways, right? Chad says it's kind of like in Buddhism with enlightenment from the way you explain it. Absolutely, right? Before enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. And after enlightenment, you chop wood and carry water. It's a radical acceptance that you are truly a living being in the universe. And there was nothing inherently special about your existence, but the uniqueness of you can never be replaced. Before enlightenment, we chop wood and carry water up the mountain. After you are enlightened, you're still going to have to chop wood and carry water, girls, up the fucking mountain. Okay? This is the imagery of Sisyphus we had earlier. You're going to push the boulder up the hill either way. You can either learn to hate it the whole way and be bitter, to let the boulder roll back down and squash you, okay? Or you can learn to find the joy in pushing the boulder up the hill. But you will push the boulder up the hill, no matter who you are in the universe. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or somebody in poverty. Everybody has a boulder. The question is your relationship with the boulder. So what the billionaires do is they convince you to kind of push the boulder for them. And you sit there and go, yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to push my boulder and their boulder. And I'm saying, why are you pushing their boulder? And you're pushing their boulder because of the way that you've been conditioned in society to help push their boulder. But they still have the burden of convincing you to push their boulder, which is a full-time job. Marketing to you is a full-time job. That's why they hire those people to do it. And I'm saying, stop pushing these billionaire boulders. But you say, Brittany, I have to do it because I need to buy from Amazon. And I'm saying, I hear you, girl. But as long as you support these politicians, engage in Amazon, engage in these conveniences, which is ironic because the stress of your life, you're just like, I wish I had somebody to help me. Oh, I'll hire someone. Convenience, which is then it becomes a business. And then now something as simple as cleaning your own home, which could have been something you could have done, is now allocated out to a group of people that we say is the bottom of society. And now we can offer them less money while the rich people make more money so poor people can clean their houses. I'm saying, regardless of who you are, regardless of how we exist, we are all the reason the world is the way that it is. All of us together. And I'm saying that is such a humbling realization to go, oh, it's me. I'm the problem. Because if it wasn't me, if I was the only special snowflake person who existed that was perfect and everybody else was horrible, then what was so unique about me that I was perfect? Nothing. I'm like the rest of everybody else. Okay? Trust me. And so that's why I say, like, liberation for yourself is very hard because you are the oppressor. Like, when you're liberating yourself, you are the oppressor. When you're liberating yourself from the system is the oppressor. And I'm saying, to liberate yourself in a system of oppression, you first have to liberate yourself from the chains or the cage you've put around yourself. So look at her, look at this girl. Let's go back. This girl has put a whole box around herself in which she's carrying the burden of her family, her husband, okay, the future of his family, everything on her shoulders. And her family keeps saying, hey, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do this. But she keeps doing it for two reasons. One, her family's lying. They absolutely want her to do that because if not, they would be grown-ups and say, don't pay my bills, which is why I'm very strict about who pays my bills. Because if at any point somebody offered me money, I'd be like, how much do you have in savings? Why do you want to give it to me? Why are you doing it? Because I would never let my sister do this. I would never let my daughter do this. I would be so angry at myself if I saw this video of my family member and they were this stressed over paying my fucking bills. Fuck no. Fuck no. Absolutely not. Okay? And the fact is that this is a real person with a real stressor, and people are not taking on that responsibility of saying, she should not be crying over paying my bills. This is ridiculous. Okay? Especially when we know we could be capable of helping. Ridiculous. But let's keep listening because it gets good.
Caveats attached to it.
Nice.
Arham and I talk about, like, it'd be so fun if we joined a league together and learned a new sport together, but it always keeps getting delayed.
Why?
Because it feels like I have to take care of everything else first before I can treat myself to that.
Sorry, what am I doing with my body? What am I doing with that?
I should throw it off.
So tell me, what's one thing you want to throw off?
I want to create a little bit more unstructured time where Arham and I have a weekly set time of we're going to both do something.
What's something you do right now that you would be willing to not do anymore?
I would love to not have to spend one day a week cleaning our apartment.
Okay, so interesting. Okay, right? And I did bring up cleaning your house for a reason because I knew she was going to talk about this. She wants time to not have to clean her own house. But the fact is we should have enough time in our day to clean our own houses, even though it's like a full-time job. And the fact that the system doesn't allow us time to clean our houses means that we allocate it out to somebody else. But then how much are we really paying for people to clean our own messes? And it's not because we're disabled and we need the help. It's because we're stressed and we don't have the time. This is different. And the question is, why are we so stressed that we don't have the time to clean our own house? And so this is the question about systems. But then this is why we say, okay, how do I bring down the mess in my house or bring down the need to, how do I organize my house so I have less stress about cleaning my house? Because I'll just let you know, I hate cleaning my house. It's the worst time of my day. I don't even do anything really. I only have one chore. My partner does the rest, but we hate it. We hate cleaning. Both of us hate it, but we do it because we're adults. But I don't like it. And do I want someone else to do it? Kind of, but not enough to actually do it because I don't really believe in the system. Unless I need help, unless I'm chronically ill or disabled or I truly am stressed, I don't want to live in a world where somebody has to fold my laundry. I don't want to live in a world where somebody has to clean my dishes. I just feel like that is not the world I want to create in my home, in my safe space. But again, if you need help, 100% hire someone, girl. If you need help moving a refrigerator to clean underneath it, hire somebody, girl. Hire somebody. Okay, so know the differences.
That's it. That's the easiest thing. Okay, I love it. How can you make that happen?
We would love to hire someone to help.
That's one option. What else?
I find it a little interesting. I think that she's saying that she wants more unstructured time because when we've talked, last year was very unstable, very chaotic. And I think that the reason we're doing better now is because our weeks are so.
Respectfully, when I heard, when I heard him say this, I yelled so loudly that I was sure my neighbors heard me. Because I wanted to be like, you are so bad at listening. You are so bad at listening, bro. She did not say that. That is not the same thing. They are not the same thing. Did anybody think that was the same thing? She said she wants basically free time where nobody needs her so they can actually do what they want to do. And he heard, well, last year we were in complete chaos because there was no structure and you didn't like that. You are so exhausting.
So structured, stable, very chaotic. And I think that the reason we're doing better now is because our weeks are so structured. But now I'm hearing what Sana is saying, that maybe there can be a little bit more leeway, more unstructured.
Is that correct?
That's why I'm wondering.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to each other. I'll just listen.
I mean, our walks are definitely one of those things. I would just like to add to our list of activities that we do together.
Can I ask a question? I love this. I think you should.
Yeah.
Why do you think that you two are having a discussion about 2 hours a week for a couple with no children that makes almost $200,000 a year?
The practical answer, I think, for one, is that we both work full time. She goes to the office and she's also in grad school right now. So a lot of her days really are taken up in work and then school on the weekends. And then we see each other's families. And then before you know it, the next week starts right there. And so even talking about 2 hours of unstructured time feels like we have to carve it out of the week because it doesn't seem to freely be there.
You agree?
Yes. And then also there is a cost of joining the league. It's not that much. It's a couple hundred. But
she wants to join, they want to do sports together.
It's just that delayment of gratification where it's like, let's pay off this debt and then we can join the league versus I could probably just do it next month.
Does it feel good sometimes to restrict yourself?
Yes, because then it feels like the reward is bigger at the end. As a student, there's always more that you can do and you can always be better at what you're doing. So if I put in an extra 3-4 hours into studying, I can be more prepared and then feel like it's easier when I walk into the task.
Are you seeing the connection with why I'm bringing this up?
Yes, because I do it with my finances as well. Like I see the end goal and then I try to put all the work for it forward thinking. And so I unload myself now rather than.
It's not about your money.
It's never about the money. So you're going to liberate yourself by recognizing that you're one single person on the planet, doing your best, holding yourself accountable, living by your values, organizing your morals and ethics, showing up in the world that you think is the best way possible, and recognizing that you will fail time and time again to live up to this ideal version of yourself because she doesn't exist. And also, you can free yourself from all of the voices in your ear that tell you you're not perfect, you're not who you should be, you're not modest, you're not moral, you're bad for the world. As long as you're living up to your values and it is and does coincide with your joy, then it's never about the money. It's never about anything really. It's always about your relationship with self and then your relationship with everything outside of self. So when we liberate ourselves, we're saying, I'm going to continue to deconstruct this expectation and also liberate myself from this feeling of shame that the world has put on me because I shaved or I didn't shave my legs or armpits today. This is why I don't think shaming works. Like, why are we shaming women for not having or for not shaving, right? Like, what does that mean? That doesn't make sense. Okay. Or why are we telling people they're not living up to a standard because they didn't get into super shape after pregnancy? Or why are we living in a world where like, oh, you make a lot, but you don't have money to do anything because the economy's changed and inflation is insane, right? Like her brain that goes, I'll just work harder. That used to be my brain all the time. Oh, I'm burnt out and tired and breaking down every 2 years. It's okay. I'll just get another job. I'll just work harder. I'll just add one more thing to my plate where I'm so stressed and somehow my logic will tell me it will get better. It doesn't. You take something off your plate, something that wasn't your burden to carry, like paying her parents' rent. This should not be her burden to carry. Okay? But you have to unlearn that because a lot of us grow up in immigrant households where the dream is, I'm going to make enough money to pay my parents' house off, or I'm going to make enough money to pay your parents' retirement. This should never have been our burden. In an ideal world, we shouldn't be in this position because at the end of the day, adults made us and brought us into the universe and they are responsible for being the adult in the room. So we infantilize our parents because our cultures have taught us to infantilize our parents. And it takes a very, a crazy amount of self-awareness to recognize that that's what we're even doing. We're infantilizing the adults in the room, and therefore we infantilize the voters who vote for Trump, and therefore we infantilize the leaders who lead us, and we infantilize the president. Old people are just ignorant and stubborn, and that's why they're racist, because that's just how it was back in the day. So we're infantilizing their ability to deconstruct and introspect and be better. Oh, well, they're old now, so, and... You know, you're the adult in the room. Let's go. And now that I'm 37, I'm definitely the adult in the room. Let's go. Okay? And so again, this is all connected. It all connects.
It's about your relationship.
Oh.
You say that you want time together,
Mhm.
but when I ask, why are we discussing 2 hours a week for a couple making multiple six figures with no kids? And there's a very set of logical reasons. We have family, we have work, we have grad school, we have all these things. But ultimately, it's the same principle you've been applying since you were a little kid. I need to work. There's more I can do. I need to do this and then this and then this. And finally, I will be in a place that I can do it. The same thing.
Finally, if I just get to that place, then I'll start living my life. And that's why I say to you, liberate yourself now so you can start living while you're in debt. Liberate yourself now so you can start enjoying your life while you're getting out of debt. Don't pull a Dave Ramsey and, you know, Dave Ramsey says, if you have debt, the only reason you're inside of a restaurant is if you work there. Okay. My partner and I did not do Dave Ramsey. I like his steps and everything generally, but I did not do Dave Ramsey with my partner because we did close to Dave Ramsey, like beans and rice. We did close to Dave Ramsey where we only went out to a restaurant every 3 months. But I'm just going to tell you this right now. It was mentally taxing. It was so hard that Dave Ramsey's solution, though on paper is very logical, it is completely fucking psychotic. It is just only a very specific kind of organized autistic person could do this. And I am not that kind of autistic person. I'm the other kind of autistic person, okay? I'm sorry. It's too much. It's too much. But even my partner and I, the way we restricted ourselves, it was so, we feel guilty over spending $5 fucking. I'd be like, bro, that's $5. I can't spend it. And then it would eat us up. It would eat us and we would feel so guilty that I was like, oh no. I'm not going to live my life like this. I refuse. So we sat down, had a money meeting, had an intimate money meeting because it is intimate. And I said, I love you. I can't live like this. And I know you can't live like this. We cannot feel guilty over $5 fucking. I refuse. So I said, let's do this. Let's lock in. Like I said earlier, we're going to get out of this debt and then we're going to give each other fun money. Okay. As we build our savings, as we build our 3-month emergency, sorry. As we build towards our future, we need fun money. So how much do we want each? You know, it's like, oh my God, I felt so bad, right? Chad said my issue is that I don't feel guilty over 5 to 15. Well, let me tell you, in my 20s, girlies, I didn't feel bad over 15,000. In my 20s, I didn't feel bad over 30,000, girl. I was like, slide that credit card. I was like, buy that car. You know what I mean? Like, in my 20s, you couldn't have made me feel guilty for shit because I was going to kill myself. So, you know what I mean? It's a balancing act. It's a balancing act. You know what I mean? Okay.
It's coming up over and over and over again. I don't know that you see it. So just to put it very bluntly, you two are going to make a lot more money. The debt's going to get paid off. No doubt about that. And you are going to recreate some of the exact same dynamics that you saw your parents doing. Not just with money, but a lack of connection.
Yep.
A lack of a vision. Your worldview right now is so deeply embedded in the idea that you need to be in control of everything and that you need to do A, B, C, D all sequentially, that you'll do that until the day you die. And guess who will observe that? Your kids. And then they'll just do the exact same thing. What is the rich life? You told me vacations, you told me the bagel shop. What is it with the two of you?
I guess I would love to do more things together without a checklist running in the back of our head. Like,
okay, so just FYI, even in my life, I live with my partner and I work here full time in the house. And I'm starting to feel like, man, I never see my partner. Like, what's up with that? You know, our sleeping schedules are different. Everything is a little off. And so I would catch up with my friends once a week because that's the only time I have available, Sundays. And then I realized that especially now that I'm disabled, I really think that's playing a big role in this. The physical disability, it just really wipes me out. Where before I never felt it, but I don't know. Who knows? I can't know. My life was so different then. Who knows? But when I talk to my friends, I'll catch up with 2 to 3 people every other Sunday, and that's it. That's all I can do all day. I can do nothing else. I can't go out. I can't go to a restaurant. It's just like, and I love my friends. So that's not a bad thing. That's just the reality of socializing. Like, I can't. So my partner wasn't getting any time because every Sunday was being filled up with friend calls, because by the time I was done doing friend calls, I didn't have the spoons to hang out with my partner and I would just be in bed chronically ill. So then I was like, okay, what am I going to do? So I switched it. I did every other Sunday, my partner, it's called date day. And then every other Sunday, it's my friends. And that's what I'm doing. Okay. And it's working out. It's really stable. It's really consistent. It means we always have a Sunday to look forward to that's just for us, and no one else needs me. No one else is calling me. Nobody else is doing anything. And it's just him and I, and we get to decide what to do with the day, whether it's laying together or watching anime or doing art together, playing Overwatch, or whatever we're doing it just him and I. And it's really nice and it's really great and it's really working out. Because yeah, you would think like, how hard is it to spend time together if you live with each other? But it's actually really hard. It's really hard when you're working 10 hours a day. You're always thinking about work. You're always thinking about your retirement. It's just so difficult. And then my family, Assyrians, take off generally Sundays, like family day, generally, because it's church day, and usually go do a get together with family. So that's kind of the mimic. We're mimicking this, you know? Chad says, could you do parallel thing where you just exist in the same room and that's it? Like me and my partner? Absolutely. Yeah. Me and my friends? No, unless it's like, respectfully, 1, I don't live in the same place as my friends. And 2, unless it's my sister, unless it's like people that are like inner circle, no. Like, I have stuff to do. Why are you in my house? Like, you know what I mean? I have things I want to do. But yes, for my partner, 1000%, we do parallel play a lot together, or sit next to each other on the couch with our own devices or something. I think that's really nice, but that counts as a date day, because again, it's about being with each other. It's about the intimacy. You know, it's about intimacy. It's about like, it's about carving out time where you can just be. You know, and sometimes even on our date days, we don't even stay in the same place together. Sometimes I'll go to the kitchen to cook, and sometimes I'll go to our office to play games, and then we'll meet up later. It's just about being free to do whatever we want. That's what it is. You know, it's just the freedom to breathe, you know?
You know, I feel like now the time that we spend together, it's stuff like grocery shopping, or maybe it is going to see our families, or it's to serve some broader purpose.
Functional.
Yeah, it's functional.
Yeah. Okay. So let's fix it right now.
Okay, yeah, and chat, great point, says, I spend a lot of time alone. I would love parallel play. I think that's the thing. Everybody's at a different juncture of their life, right? Like everybody's at a different time in their life. What works for me now won't be the same later. Like in 5 years, I could be in a completely different space. So remember that everything I'm saying isn't permanent. Everything I'm saying is just a reflection of where we are now, because everything could change, right? Maybe in the future, I live in a place where my friends are and they do come over every Saturday and they watch me fold my laundry. I don't know. But right now, that's just not a reality unless it's, again, like my sister's on the phone with me while I'm doing chores, fine. Because I can do things with my sister. I could take a shit while my sister's on the phone with me and I'm on mute. Do you know what I mean? Like it's a completely different dynamic. Most of my friends though, you're not going to take me into the bathroom with you. Okay. Like I'm not going to the bathroom with you. Thank you. But with my sister, like, you know what? I used to talk to my sister in the shower. I used to have my cell phone on in the shower in my 20s and I would be taking a shower like, hey girl, how are you? Yeah. How are you? So like just, okay, everybody's got a different level of intimacy at play here.
If you both claim you want to have more unstructured, unfunctional time, make it happen for this coming week, what would you do?
Today we both took the day off, so we were planning on having lunch together and walking around the area.
Great. Next week.
And then we were talking about joining a bocce ball league.
Great.
I was debating it, but I'm leaning closer and closer to just getting us those seats.
And when you say you were debating it, in your head you were saying time, money, anything else?
It was those two.
Okay.
And then also we have my cousin and his brother come over on Thursday.
This is key. Listen to this. This is exactly what we've been talking about.
Those two.
Okay.
And then also we have my cousin and his brother come over on Thursdays, and the league that I'm looking at is on Thursdays.
So what are you going to do?
I was going to convince them to join. They might or might not, but I still want us to do it.
Great. I love that. The two of you come first, and if they want to join, great. And if not,
push off.
Just say, hey, we've decided like we're going to be doing this, so Thursday's not going to work anymore.
Your marriage, but not at the expense of your community. Your community, but not at the expense of your marriage. Right now, her community is threatening the marriage. Right now, her husband is threatening the marriage by lying to her at the beginning, right? So herself, but not at the expense of her marriage. Her marriage, not at the expense of herself. Your marriage, okay? So like, my community is so important to me, but my marriage comes first, period. Because this is who I'm doing life with, okay? Right? And this is different. When I say doing life with, it depends. Listen, I love my sister so deeply. She never wants to live with any of us. She loves her independence. She's not interested. She does not want to share bills. She's very secure in her life. Love my independent queen sister. Okay? That means we're not doing life together. We're not going to invest in a house. We're not going to invest in these things. And so who am I doing this with? Myself first and foremost, and then my partner. It could be a friend though. There are friendship relationships where you guys, I have friends, I have a bestie that she and I talked about it. I was like, would you buy a house with me? She goes, yeah, I'd buy a house with you. She goes, I know you'd be good for it and we could make an investment. I was like, okay, dope. That's maybe a possibility in the future. We could buy a house together, right? Like I'd buy a house with this girl. I trust her. I've known her so long. I trust her with everything for sure, right? It's like, there are those dynamics, but most people have first yourself, you are the first singular family you are a part of. And then you have your community. Liberate yourself from thinking you are an extension of your family only. And remember that first and foremost, you are your own family. Because guys, if your family is if you're an extension of your family, who's your family an extension of? Who are your parents? Are your parents, your grandparents in charge? No, your grandparents died, okay? They're dead. At least mine are. So God bless them, love them. But like, I don't want to live in that structure where like my parents have to answer to my grandparents. Like, what are we, 15? At some point, I'm too damn old to answer you. You know what I mean? To live my life like you, when the younger generation is supposed to know better than the old anyways, right? So absolutely not. Okay, I love my elders, but they're all gonna die before we even get to do our stuff. We got to do our stuff, okay? And that's what I'm saying, right? Chess says, does having a schedule that time in such a structured way feel oppressive at all? I think the idea of needing to schedule it all triggers my PDA. I'm a planning autistic, so I need a plan. If my partner's ADHD, so they don't like a plan. And the worst thing about our dynamic is probably how our ADHD and autism run up against each other. I need the plan because everything I do the night before is going to be about that plan. So are we spending time together tomorrow? Yes. Okay. I need to know this. Otherwise, there's so many things I need to do. I want to do other things. So if I'm making it a priority to do this thing with you, are we doing it? Yes or no? Right? So for me, it doesn't trigger my PDA. I think sometimes it could probably get in the way of the ADHD brain a little bit more, but I'm an organized girly. I need to know what we're doing. Okay. With that said, I also think that it allows me to shut off my brain from work. So if I know I'm not working tomorrow at all, I can say, Brittany, stop thinking about work. Rest. But if I, on a work day as an example, like, sometimes my partner will try to talk to me on a work day. I'm like, no, it's a work day. I'm working. I'll go like this. I'm working. And he'll be like, because when I'm working, guys, I'm 1000% locked in. My brain can do absolutely nothing else. Like nothing else is happening in my brain. And so if we want to spend any time together, I have to turn off my brain. But that's my autism. You know what I mean? But everyone's different. I also, frankly, to take it a step further, I love a day where I'm like, are we making love this day? Because I need to know. Because I would love to schedule it out. Because genuinely, like, I need to plan a shower and being cute and not thinking about anything after. Like, I'm not in my 20s anymore. Girl, in my 20s, I could fuck and then go to work. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm old. I'm not doing it. Okay? If we're going to be having sex, I'm going to need 3 to 4 hours and nothing after. Thank you. It's going to need to be an event. You know what I mean? Like, we're going to have to bring out the balloons. Okay? It's going to be a whole thing. Because, like, I don't have the energy. I don't have the upkeep. You got to take a shower and you got to clean up. You got to do all this. Like, I'm busy. I'm literally busy from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. I'm literally working. So I don't know about anybody else, but I'm up at like 11, 12 my time because I work for America. And I go to bed about 3 a.m. And from all of that time, I'm basically thinking about work on work days. Okay? So I don't have time to think about it's like, get off me. Like, I'm just like, I'm like, focus. Okay? And so that's just, I'm going to be real. 37 years old, I'm busy. Okay? So yeah, anyways, if we're going to have sex, it's going to be a planned day thing. Thank you. Now, you know, sometimes we get into it spontaneously, but let's just be real. What a headache. I got to take a shower and I got to regroup. And it's like, you know, it's too much. It's too much. Okay?
More. It's totally okay.
Wait. Chat says, would you say this without capitalism? What does that even mean? Would I say what without capitalism? I'm 37 and disabled. My body hurts. I'm constantly spotting. I'm going through menopause. I'm fucking tired. Capitalism isn't going to change the fact that my body is bleeding all the time. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm saying some of us are going through it. I get hot flashes like I don't even know what to say to you. I'm sweating constantly. I'm literally always tired. Get your dick away from me. Anyways, I'm married and asexual. It's fine. Demi, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes intimacy is about cuddling, kissing, vibrators, time spent watching One Piece. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just about hugging. Sometimes it's about making out. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Stop trying to stick stuff inside me. I hurt, right? Anyways, when I was younger, I thought I was going to have sex 4 times a day. But honestly, girl, I'm busy. There's other things I want to do. Okay? Okay, so don't be hard on yourself. And if you're young and you're like, I want to have sex forever, I love that for you, girl. If you can keep it up, do it. Listen, when I was at the BDSM dungeon, I would see 80-year-olds fucking, and that might be me later. Listen to me. When I'm 80, I might be fucking on a dungeon floor. I might be in an orgy. But 37-year-old Brittany is busy right now. And these hot flashes are ridiculous. Ridiculous. Okay? Lay off. But we'll revisit everything in our 80s, okay?
What else?
I love watching movies. I would love to be able to, some weeknights during the week, maybe we go watch a movie, and it doesn't have to be a weekend. It could be a Tuesday night.
Could you do it?
I want to say yes, but I still come back to the thing of, because she's in grad school and we both work.
This is also the economy. So then this goes back to the commenter about capitalism. it is true that things like taking time off to see a movie is a lot harder because of inflation in the economy. So that stuff is definitely the economy. Going out to the movie theater seems like so much work for us. That is the capitalism. That is the economy. That used to be something so fun for me. And now I'm like, girl, I don't have the time. Okay, like it's too many important things to do. When I finish watching a movie, I'm like, oh my God, I accomplished something, which is ridiculous. So I usually catch up on movies on Sundays now, but it's ridiculous that used to feel like an accomplishment. Now I'm back to enjoying movies, but it took me a really long time. I skipped out on so many movies the last 6 years, okay? So that's the economy. That is definitely the economy.
Long hours. I guess the question that I have for you then is how do we reconcile this where for someone like Sana who is so organized and wants to control different factors of their life, and I know that I'm trying to control it because I don't want to go back to how last year was. How do I put in my head that maybe life could be better, kind of loosening the rope?
It's a good question. Life is better now. I think you would both agree. You have a debt payoff plan. You're more in control of the money. I think that's really good. What I'm hearing that you've both expressed in different ways, especially you, Sana, is I want to have a little bit more fun. I want to be more connected with each other.
I want to live my life in the most present. I want to live my life in the most present. That is what liberation is about. We're liberating our communities so they can live their life in the most present. We're liberating ourselves so we can live our life in the most present. We want to actually live our life. We actually want to be like, it's not about laboring. I love to labor. I love to work. I love to contribute to my community. I feel so fulfilled when I build something, when I make a great video. Like, this is so fulfilling for me. And I also would like to rest. I don't even want to go on vacation. That's what's so ironic is they're talking about they want to go on vacation twice a year. Beautiful. They want to see every country. I don't even want to do that, girl. My perfect life does not involve me traveling. I am a homebody girl. My perfect life is being able to have 20 minutes every day to go outside with my partner and eat on the balcony. You know what I'm saying? If yours is traveling with your partner, beautiful. I don't even need that. Everybody is different. It's all about what you need. What do you really want? What do you really need? Separate from what the world is telling you you need. Because people have done this to me. Oh my gosh, like, Brittany, you don't want to travel? You can go fuck off with that attitude. Do not judge me. Okay, fuck off. You sound like every other judgmental person we've ever had to grow up with. Just because you want to travel doesn't mean I want to travel, girl. If you want to travel, great. I do not like it. Okay? I do not like it, Sam I am. Okay? I just want to vibe. Chad said so much partner talk. Okay, girlies, if you're single, transfer everything I'm saying into single mode. If I was single, I would still be vibing. My dream would be to have 20 minutes on the balcony with me and my cat or myself. Everything I'm saying applies to a single person's life. Everything I'm saying, because guys, I functionally live single. You have to remember this, lock in. I'm the breadwinner. I'm making the single income. If my partner died tomorrow, my life would look the same. My life is what I would want it to be if I was single or partnered. The only difference is I'd be back in the United States if I was single. Because I'd probably be living next to my brother. Or maybe I'd even kidnap my gay brother and make him live with me on purpose. You know what I mean? But the point is like, I would be single. So like everything I'm saying, attach it to your life as a single person because you are a family. You are a family, you know? You have to think about that. Chad said you aren't in the US? No, I live in Croatia. My partner's Croatian.
Still quite young. I'm like, what's happening right now? Because to me, I'm feeling joy.
Okay, so he just finished going over their numbers. I time skipped. They just went over their numbers. They just went over their debt plan. They're going to be out of debt in like 5 years if they really lock in. Okay, but neither of them are excited at the prospect.
Reaction I'm seeing from you is concrete. It looks like I'm looking at concrete right now. What's happening?
I guess it's not really going to hit me until it's done.
Oh, so we have to wait another 10 years to feel it.
Well, no, I see this like, we're a sports team working towards a championship, and our championship is going to be paid off.
But you guys are not a sports team. You're husband and wife. It's different. I like goals. I like winning. Yes, but I don't want to only win with my wife. I want to be connected to my wife. I want to feel intimate. I want to feel joy. I even want to feel sadness. I want to feel. My wife is not my business partner.
We do laugh together. We're not only strictly business all the time. I think just when it comes to money, we end up turning into like these emotionless.
Yes, keep going.
And like regimented.
Yes.
but outside of this spreadsheet, we do have fun together.
What if money could also be fun?
Yeah.
What would it
Oh, P.S. Chat saying therapist hits deep. I don't know if this is, Ramit is not a therapist. He's a financial coach. Just FYI, he's a capitalist financial coach. He just knows that money is about psychology. That's like the best part about Ramit's show. Because, yeah, chat, exactly. That's why I say money is about your childhood. Money is not about the economy alone. It is about your childhood, your trauma, your relationships. That's why I love money shows, because money is always about psychology. Every call is always about money. Like, I'm sorry, about psychology and trauma. Even if you listen to Dave Ramsey or anybody, if you listen to a serious finance show that isn't Caleb fucking Hammer, then it's seriously always about psychology. It's about your childhood. It's about the abuse you've had. It's about being in a bad marriage. It's always about, that's why I say like money isn't just capitalism bad, which we all agree, except for me here. But like Ramit's a liberal, so I do like him better than the other guys. But, you know, it is about your childhood. I mean, guys, I got into so much debt in my 20s because I thought I was going to kill myself. Until I stopped being suicidal at 30, I did not think about saving my money. I didn't even think about the future. And that's why being autistic and queer and old is such an honor, because girly, I was about to take myself out because of the world. And that's another part. Ooh, can I say this? That's another part of liberating yourself. If I didn't liberate myself, I would have killed myself. Because I was so burdened by how the world was that I was like, I should kill myself. I already live in a world that doesn't accept me, doesn't love me, doesn't understand me. Like, what's the point? And then I was like, you know what? Why do I think I'm special? Like, why do I think my suffering is so uniquely special? It's real, it's valid, it's happening. But what is so unique about Britney's suffering that she would kill herself for bigots? That she would kill herself because of hateful people? And I was like, oh, never mind. I'm not going to kill myself for you. I'm going to go live my best life. And one that ironically still creates a system where those people get supported, because I think everyone, even bigots, deserve healthcare and housing and education. And I think all of their children deserve liberation. And the irony is that I used my healing to turn around and give back to my community, which is why I think it's so important to liberate yourself so you can help liberate your community. It's just, I don't understand. They all go hand in hand, guys. Like, we don't exist outside of community. We're all connected. And that includes strangers on the street, people you see at restaurants, the way you act on the road, the way you act when you're in public, the way you act in my chat. Hey, the way you act in my chat is you showing up as a member of this community. Even if you're not a subscriber, even if you don't watch me, even if you're a hater, you're still adding to the ecosystem. Your hateful comments, your bigoted comments, they are impacting people's real life. And with all of this power you have, how could you wield it for so much evil? Philosophical evil, right? This is why I love philosophy. Like, think about it. Like, think about how much power you have to do so much good in the world, and just think about the one life you're living and how you're going to spend it, right? I hope it's not spending it trolling people, stalking people, harassing people, taking advantage of people. Like, I hope that's not how you're going to spend your one life.
look like if it were?
We can say yes to things without thinking twice about it.
Okay. What else?
The early part of our marriage.
Sorry, I keep pausing. Someone in Discord said, when you participate in community, you help people push their boulders. Exactly. So we're all pushing our boulders up the hill. And sometimes we end up getting tools along the way that helps make that boulder easier, which alleviates more opportunity and time for us to help other people with their boulders. Because we're all going to push boulders up hills. It's just a matter of, as a community, can we create a system that helps us all lift each other's boulders better so it's easier? There's always going to be a boulder to push. But damn, some help would be nice. And we can do that. We can do that. But remember that if you don't set your boulder up first and you try to go help somebody else with theirs, your boulder is going to come and squish you. It's going to roll back on you and squish you. So make sure you put like a little thing in the ground to hold it in place while you go help somebody else with their boulder. And then give each other the tools. Maybe you like imagine connecting like a rope or like a pulley machine. Maybe you guys design like a pulley machine to help each other. But not in a capitalistic, disgusting way that utilizes the labor and exploitation of people in order for people at the top to get rich. No, we all help each other with a pulley system to make it easier on everybody. Everybody benefits. And everyone benefits basically equally. It's not about a hierarchy. It's not about like, oh, we're helping the people. We're helping everybody. We're going to the very bottom and pushing everybody up. We're not going to the top and pushing people down. We're going to the very bottom and we're pushing everybody up. That's the goal. And guys, when we talk about liberating ourselves as individuals, you're at the bottom. Who's going to come and lift you up? You. And then who you are going to go out to your community and uplift you. Because remember, liberating your spirit is an internal process. It's personal and intimate. It's just about you. Your community can't do it. Your community can help you. But ultimately, you have to make the decision, right? You have to make the choice with your limited free will.
We were prioritizing fun and going out to eat and, having a fun time with each other. But then maybe the message I took away is that the low point that we were at is because I prioritized that rather than this. I would say so, but maybe not in the way that I think it should be.
Okay, so let me ask you this. You wanted to come here and speak to me. Why?
I don't think this is the way that we should be. I think this is fine for us to do till maybe, let's say 2028, but I don't know if we should be doing this when we're like 35 years old and on.
Okay.
I wanted to learn from you, how can we be prepared now to be able to live that way later on?
Okay.
I'd say I wanted to come on here to feel less stressed when it comes to money. I think the joy that we feel when we look at this is like before we were this much under and now we're this much under, as in we're climbing out of the hole. But I think the true joy doesn't come from digging yourself out. It's to what you can unlock yourself to do with it.
Beautiful. True joy is not linear. True joy, in my experience, is not simply we did this and we got here, although that is great. It's a great sense of accomplishment of what you've been able to do individually and together. It's huge, huge.
Individually and together. You individually, your community, and together.
Having this plan is amazing. I rarely see a plan like this.
Okay, pause. Let me draw you a picture. So, just to solidify, okay, you are you as an individual. You are you with your family. Okay, here's your family. I'm going to put family. Okay, you are you if you have a partner with your partner. Okay, if you have a partner. Okay, you are you in relation to your community. I'm just going to put community, right? All different you, all different roles. And ultimately, this one is just as important as the rest. Sometimes in the world, we think the most important one is being our parents' kid, or being our partner's partner, or being our community member. But no, the most important one is first this one, because that's the beginning start of it. And then you extend yourself out. And then hopefully you get things back, because it's a symbiotic relationship. We work in symbiosis, hopefully positive symbiosis. Because remember, guys, you can have a negative symbiosis, but the goal is to get positive symbiosis out of this to make sure that we're working in a figure eight with each other. And I'm putting in, you're putting in, and none of us, it's never at the expense of, when we talk about exploitation, it doesn't just come from billionaires, it also comes from your family. Your parents can exploit you. Your friends can exploit you. Your loved ones can exploit you. Your partner can exploit you. So remember to choose well. Remember to discern. Remember to recognize you can be scammed and tricked. Remember that the strongest amongst us are still just feeling people at the end of the day, and we can get our feelings hurt. Remember that anybody could be a victim of scamming or abuse. Remember that even if your parents love you, or there's unconditional love, which does exist, like, ultimately, you have to be open with boundaries, because unconditional love isn't always enough. You know, it's beautiful, it's important, it's forever, and yet we're open with boundaries. Okay, so we're almost done wrapping up, by the way.
What I am gently suggesting to you is that you have created a life where everything must be functional to earn its way. We have to check this box. We have to achieve ROI on this. We have to have a plan that is paid off in this amount of time. All those things are good, but you didn't leave time for just being, just enjoying. And actually, you're spending so much time on things like this when it comes to money that there's no time left for a rich life, for just enjoying each other. What I'm trying to get you to see is that your entire worldview of your relationship with money is purely functional.
Yeah, I know Arham brings up every once in a while. It's like, I know we're doing better, but like, do you feel like our life is too structured? And our answer has always been like, we have to do it this way now. And then once we get to the light at the end of the tunnel, we can do more.
There's no light.
But we could integrate pieces of that joy now.
Yes, exactly. You get it. So what do you want to do? The debt payoff plan is solid. You're going to be paid off in 5 years. Hell, make it 10 according to your own calculations. Either way, you're in your 30s. Amazing. So it's done. It just needs time. What else? You have debt as well, right? You made a career change. How much is your debt?
In total, by the time I'm done with this program, it's going to be close to 100K.
Where's the debt payoff plan?
It's to the right of it.
So they keep going. There's a debt payoff plan. They're going to go through it. But the problem they're having, and let's wrap up. The problem they're having is they can't live in the most present because they are in this golden cage. They make $200,000 a year. They're in this golden cage. They're like, I'm going to save my family. I'm going to help people. I'm going to do all this. And then he goes on to say that he also wants to, in his ideal life, help his family out. Why are we saving all these people? Don't these people have jobs? Don't these people have abilities? Why are two people paying for two different families? Why are they helping out two different families? Well, do you only make $200,000 a year? Like, are you rich? Why do poor people have rich people dreams? That's what I always wonder. Why do middle-class people try to live real rich people? You are not rich. You make good money, but you're not rich. Okay? Rich people dreams are for rich people. Okay? You're not rich. You must live a ordinary, joyful life. Okay? Making a basic income, enjoying your life, doing your best, thriving with your family. And P.S., I bet if you really got down to it, real family, real loved ones, they don't need all that fancy shit anyways. They just want to hang out with you, bro, at a barbecue, listen to some music, play some guitar. You know what I mean? Like, we're overthinking even what being with our family is. You know, we're overthinking it. Like, yes, I'm glad they want to travel, twice a year, but also like, is that really the thing you want to do with your most present life? Maybe. But how are you going to travel 2 times a year and take a vacation and pay for your family's bills on both sides? Come on now. Be realistic. Come on. So sit with yourself and say, what is the life I actually want? Because when Brittany was younger, she thought she wanted to be a capitalistic CEO, Miranda Hobbs and Miranda Priestley. Samantha Jones spent $10,000 on a Birkin, whatever, because I thought that would be fun. And also I had a dream of buying all my siblings used cars and buying a property of 50 acres and then racing cars on that property. I had a lot of dreams. Anyways, and now that I'm older, I'm just like, not only are my siblings going to be okay ultimately, everyone's going to be fine, but ultimately, I just want to hang out with my siblings. I just want to see my family. I just want to hang out with loved ones. I just want to vibe. I just want to watch a movie together. I just want to watch anime and talk about stories, but I had this grandiose, I'm going to buy everybody houses. I'm going to buy a whole cul-de-sac out and my family can all live together. And the closer I get to 40, it's just like, what? This is so silly, but it was fun. You know why? Because when we were younger, all of us would get summer jobs and pay for dirt bikes and we'd race around the property and it was so fun as kids. And that was the first thing I ever bought myself when I was a teenager. I spent $1,600 on a dirt bike and I was like, oh my God, this is my dream life. And because I saw motocross on Disney, of course, if you know, you know. And yeah, I just wanted to make this life. But then as you get older, the reality sets in too of how different your family and you are politically, philosophically, bigotry. And then you realize you love your family, but at the same time, girl, I'm not living next to my Trump brothers. I'm not living next to my conservative family. I love them to bits and pieces. But if you know what I'm saying? If I hear anything, my peace requires me to leave my parents and cling to my wife. My peace requires me to leave my family and start my own, even if it's single. I know that I have truly liberated myself so far from my family structure that even if my partner dies, I'm not going back there. I love them so much. I love them more than I love anybody else on this planet, but I'm not going back there, girl. I used to think even prior to my partner, I used to think that I was going to center my life around my siblings and around their kids. And I just realized how much of an expense it was costing me, and I was like, I can't do this. I love you. I'll live close, but far. I'll live Auntie Brittany will be available, but far. And since she's married, she'll be very unavailable because she's far, but she'll be available on the phone. Stuff like that, So ultimately, when we have conversations about peace of mind, liberation, freeing yourself, first and foremost, it's about you. And then it's about your community. And then it's about both. Nothing in what I'm telling you is ever about you isolating yourself away from community. It's always about bettering yourself to be better for community, but also making sure that you are the center of that community. Because also with peace and love, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but that same community you're going to labor for might turn around and kill you one day. So be ready to die for your community, or because your community decides they're going to kill you. Because the truth is, a lot of our own communities are our murderers. Whether it's our brothers, husbands, fathers, mobs with pitchforks, people who decide homosexuality isn't it. So, you know, labor for the community and hope you change minds. But, you know, they also may murder you. So, tee-hee. Anyways, on that note, stay hopeful, because you know you're a good person, and you can't be the only one, right? You're a good person. So there's got to be billions more, right? How do I get together with those people is always my question. You know, how do I find those people? This is kind of the start in some ways, right? All right. Oh yeah, Chad says ICE officers are all members of someone's community. You get it, girls. Exactly. All right, let's take a pause. And when I get back, speaking of community, and it might actually be your own community, this is why we can't have good things, because you do something nice for the community and they take advantage of you. Next topic. Why is it always your own damn community, bro? Why is it always your own fucking community? And why do we still stand up and fight for them anyways? Okay, let's take a break. And when I get back, we'll talk about that. And I can answer any questions too, if anyone has any questions when I get back. Okay. For those who missed stream yesterday because it was a member stream, look at my flowers I bought I went to the mall by myself. Oh my God, aren't they so pretty? And I put up my own drawings I did recently, and look, these flowers here, the big like purpley one. like the green one. She said it will keep their color. A lot of these won't keep their color, but I'm so excited because, you know, I dry my flowers after I'm done. Very exciting stuff. Little things like that, guys, when I was really stressed and I didn't have any extra money. Hold on, I'm gonna pause music. 1, 2, 3. When we were getting out of debt, I just wanted money to spend on flowers. And that was actually really expensive. I could not spend that all the time, even though I wish I could. But that's all I wanted. I just wanted to be able to afford flowers and not feel like I was breaking the bank. But the truth is, even those, that had to be budgeted in. That was like $60, 60 euro. It's not cheap. If you guys want to watch Ramit finish this interview with this couple, I'll link it, of course. Okay. Oh my God, thank you. Your fit is so cute, just like your room. Thank you. My mother-in-law gave me these pants. This is one of my favorite shirts, honestly. I wish I had more shirts that look like this. Okay. I said, are you going to do a video on obsession? I saw a lot of guys taking Bear's side, very reminiscent of the voicemail guy. Yeah, it's not a priority right now because like I said, watching movies is hard. I think I'm going to do maybe like a Discord event for it instead. YouTube is harder to do movie stuff on it. Like, you know, I don't know how to say this without, I don't know how to, the problem is the barrier to entry is harder because I don't do movie reviews. So if I cover the movie, then my audience has to watch the movie, and the audience, if the majority of the audience hasn't watched it, then that means people won't watch the video, and then I'll put all this effort into making a video that nobody will watch. And so it's like one of those things where like either I have to watch it with the community so we can all talk about it, or I have to find a way, like it's just one of those things where when YouTubers who don't do movie reviews cover movie stuff, the viewership just goes down, and I'm at work at the end of the day. So maybe I can turn it into a thing, but I want to see it. It's just not a big priority right now, but I'm thinking about making an event so I could maybe do it. I don't know. Chess, are they real or fake flowers? They're real. These are all real. These are dried real flowers. These are real flowers. They're dried. But when I get around to the movie, I'll probably talk about it or whatever. Yeah, I might just do a Discord event for it so we could talk about it there. Okay, this next topic is our last topic. I don't know if you guys know who this creator is. This is Digital Doctor Repairs. And he runs a shop where he helps people with their phones and technology. And one of the things he's kind of known for is being very like generous. So he'll help people out and then he'll say, hey, like I'll throw in this free phone case if you go do a Google review. Or sometimes he just won't charge people. And he has all kinds of people coming into his shop. Okay, here's just a few examples.
It turned, like it broke down.
Okay.
The wind.
The wind. The wind broke the door?
Yeah.
It's windy, huh?
Yeah, it's windy. That's why the door is broken. You know how to fix it?
Let's see. It looks like it just popped off the thing here.
This isn't even a customer. This is just like his next door, like shop buddy. So this is like, again, like he's just like a helpful dude, you know?
Did any other piece come off of it?
Yeah, it does.
Do we need a screwdriver?
I think
like he's just that kind of a dude, okay? So here's another example.
Even change, but it's not charging.
It's not charging?
No. I have to use my wireless to charge it.
Only works wirelessly? Look at this. See all that?
That's dirt.
That's dirt.
Yeah, so can I stop it?
There's more.
Ugh, my phone probably
yeah,
is
you
like
got a lot
that.
in there, like, just keeps coming out. Just keeps going.
I ignore that, man. Put something in it because each time I push it, it's like it keep on coming out back.
Yeah, it's because what happens is every time you put the charger in, it packs it in there, and then you put you get more stuff in there, and then you pack it in, and then eventually you just can't charge the phone. And the wireless charging sucks. You know, it takes forever. Let me get it perfect though.
All right.
How long was it like this for? When you couldn't charge it?
after yesterday, it couldn't charge, but before I keep holding the teen, I keep pushing the teen,
Yeah.
and hold it for like a while,
Yeah.
and then it start charge. But after yesterday,
How's it going?
I was coming back from New York, couldn't charge.
Where are you from? You got a cool accent.
I'm from Jamaica.
Jamaica? That's cool. You ever go back or nah?
Oh yeah, I've been back like maybe 2 times a year.
Oh, that's good.
I ain't going back for the rest of the year, but I've been there in April and in September.
Perfect.
Alright.
Awesome. Yeah, you're good, bro. You're good. Yeah, took me a couple minutes.
Alright, thanks, man.
Of course. Have a great rest of your day. Come back.
Okay, so here's another example.
I'm not gonna take it.
All right, well, thanks.
Here, give me this instead. Nice handshake.
That's you.
Perfect. Good morning. Good. How you doing today?
Oh, good. I put this guy back again.
What's going on with it?
Okay, yesterday, all I can turn it on, all I'm getting is the screensaver. I'm getting no way to...
And it just doesn't go past that point?
No. Okay.
All right. Press and hold for about 30 seconds. Okay, turned off. Press it once.
How can you do that for me?
Yeah, because it was in sleep mode, so it looked like it just froze on that screen.
Oh,
So every time
exactly.
you were hitting the button, it was just again put in freeze mode, or sleep mode, I should say. So you want to press and hold that button for about 30 seconds, and that'll fully shut it down.
Oh.
Now, we shouldn't have an issue, but I might be wrong. I'm usually not wrong, but we'll see.
No.
How's your morning going so far?
So far, so good.
This will make it better.
Absolutely. How you guys doing here?
Busy, yeah.
I see you have the truck, too.
Yeah, I got the truck, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you need, right?
Yes.
I thought it was fitting for the name Digital Doctor to be driving around in an
Well,
ambulance,
I think
you know?
it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Because so many times it's easier to me.
Yeah.
If I were to get a new computer, I'd rather you come to the
The
house,
house,
and
yep.
help me set it up.
That's what a lot of people
Because
want,
of
you
the
know?
modem and all that kind of stuff.
That's literally the exact reason I got it.
Time flies, boy.
Yeah, sometimes people ask me how long you been here. I go 5 years. I was like, holy shit, it's been 5 years already.
Yeah, it gets scary.
Yeah.
I do bookwork for my son and that kind of stuff.
Oh, that's nice.
Keeps me busy.
Yeah.
Keeps my
Well, that's the thing is when you're in retirement, you got to keep moving.
Gotta keep moving.
Yeah, that's
Even
it.
parts, go to the gym all the time, you know, that kind of stuff. So, but can't sit around watching television.
No, you can't. There we go.
There you go. No.
All right, my friend.
Thank you to you.
Of course. No, put your money away. I don't want it. I'm not going to take it.
All right, well, thanks.
Here, give me this instead. Nice handshake.
That's you.
Perfect.
Thank you again.
So he doesn't do that for all the people. He like picks and chooses. Obviously, he's running a business at the end of the day. He can't offer everybody free shit. But something happened. He has over 1 million followers. I mean, this guy's like, he's kind of like, those Pokemon guys that do the same thing. They have like Pokemon stands and the kids come up and sometimes they give the kids stuff for free or the chat pays for it or something. But then he put out this video 3 days ago and he's got hundreds of these videos, right? So he's still running a business. He still needs people to pay. He still has to have a customer base that pays. But on occasion, he gives things away for free, right? Then he made this video.
I created a monster. So, you guys who watch the videos a lot, you guys know that I love giving away free charging port cleanings and screen protectors, but we're running into a little bit of a problem. Over the last several weeks, I've had hundreds of you guys stopping in, and it's gone exactly the same way every single time. So, like, after I do the charge port cleaning and I put on the screen protector, there's no, like, all right, how much do I owe you? You know, or they leave a couple dollars in the tip jar, or they have something else that they want to bring in. None of that. They just immediately go, all right, thanks. And just beeline it for the door. It's like, at least try to make it seem like you're not just coming in here for free stuff. I don't know. It kind of got me, like, thinking about it, the whole giving away free stuff. And it's got me thinking about everything. Like, I have tons of work that I got to get done. Like, I have phones and tablets and computers and game consoles and the shipping and the messages and the emails. And I'm stopping what I'm doing to help people out. And I have hundreds of people coming in with, you know, the minor stuff. And they're not even trying to compensate me for my time. And they don't really even seem that appreciative either. It's like, all right, well, let me just go to this dude. He'll hook me up with a free screen protector and, like, you know, clean out my port, fix my problem. And I don't know. At a certain point, you kind of look at it like, I don't know if these people are taking advantage of me or not, you know? It's like they could offer something to Fresno, you know, get him some treats or something. Oh, look at Ghosty heard treats and he came running out. You know, I don't know. What do you guys think? Leave a comment down below. Do you think I should still give away the free screen protectors and charging port cleanings? Or, like, should I be more selective with who I do it to? Leave a comment.
It's, you know, and this happens. So, people will know this if they've been in the Discord long enough. There's a thing that happens with people, and actually YouTube chat will know as well. I do a lot of things for free. Because like, I'm available, I can do it really fast. I think people start to get in their head, like, oh, well, this is like your job, right? Well, my job is not free, right? When I do things for free, I'm going out of my way to do something. But if everyone assumes it's the standard, so one time in the Discord a long time ago, if you were there, you remember, I get a tag on the Discord. Tag Brittany Simon. Brittany Simon, get over here right now. I want to talk to you. That's the chat in the Discord. And I was like, hey, why are you being so demanding of my time? I paid $10. Come talk to me. I was like, that is not the vibe in this Discord. That is not the point of this Discord. Again, you don't pay $10 in the Discord to talk to me. You pay $10 to the Discord so I have the money to make content. That's what Patreon is for. And people were like, hey, like, you can't talk to Brittany that way. Like, that's not what this is for. You're being really rude. And this person was like very demanding, a woman, which is ironic because you would have thought it was a man. Very demanding. And I was like, anyway, she ended up becoming a huge problem on the Discord. She had to be banned eventually. But it's one of those things where there is like the one person, and sometimes that's all it takes, or the two people. I think in all the history of my Discord, I've had to ban maybe like, I don't know, like out of the hundreds of people that have been there, maybe like 20. And like maybe 10 that had like serious problems. Okay. So not very much, but it really only takes a couple. It really only takes a couple. And then you just kind of think to yourself, should I even do this anymore? Should I even be this person? The other day, there was a long-term watcher in my chat that I had to ban because they were basically harassing chat. And I was like, stop doing that. And they weren't listening to me. And I said, hey, you used to be a caller. I remember you. Stop treating someone that way. Like, stop doing it. And then they wouldn't stop. And so I banned them. You guys were there just a couple months ago or something. Then a username comes back randomly and they go, you took advantage of me. You did this thing to me. Da, 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 da. It's like when I was there for you, you know, when I was nice to you and I gave of my time, I'm the best person ever. The moment I put down boundaries, I'm the worst person ever. And I'm like, what are you doing? You're literally ruining the whole vibe of the community and playing main character. And that's what I think ends up happening. Is like there's a main character aspect to it where people just start thinking like, well, he was going to give it to me for free anyways, which is not an assumption they should be making about this man's business. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not what you should be assuming of his generosity. But this is why I say you have to do the right thing even if nobody else is doing it. Look, I'm still going to give of my time. I'm still going to make myself available. I'm still going to go over and beyond, and I'm going to be open with boundaries. But the reason we can't have nice things in society is a two-front, actually. Stay with me here. Not even the people who are unwell or like entitled or like philosophically evil. Those of you that are so sweet but unaware, the most innocent and like ask ever. I talked about this with my Discord during our philosophical discussion. We do a once a month discussion for philosophy. And this is what I brought up. I'll bring it up to you now. Sometimes in life, we don't recognize how we've been culturally trained to drain people of energy. Example, I did tell you about Indiana, and that was something I was willing to share with you. I think I was right to share that with you. In my DMs, some of you, no judgment, went over and beyond, which I'm sure in your mind was appropriate, no judgment. I did answer because I don't answer DMs like that. But some people asked me questions. How's Indiana? Is she taking pain meds? Where is she at? How are you? I don't respond to DMs. You can DM me, but I'm not going to respond because I put that boundary down for me and my viewers. But I kept thinking, what if I did respond? What if I did respond? Now I'm in mourning and I'm getting all these questions from strangers and or community members that I may not know who want medical information about my animal, right? And it's like, oh, but they have such good intentions. The second kind of viewer, people who write me on Instagram, DMs specifically, they will write me, girlies, the longest paragraphs you've ever seen in your life, dissecting my work and taking it apart and being like, anyways, would love to chat, reply back to me. And I'm like, it's like, you don't even think about, like, I could, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure they have good intentions. I am sure these people genuinely think like Brittany loves philosophy. I love philosophy. I'm sure she'd want to talk to me about philosophy. I get it. I think I've probably thought that in the past too. Like, oh, they're probably so sick of being on stream. They probably want to talk to me in private. I don't want to talk to you at all. You know, I only want to talk to you if you're safe for the community, you're able to balance, you know, be open with boundaries. But ultimately, the reason we have a community space is so I don't have to be the center of attention. I don't know how many people join my Discord to specifically talk to me. Sometimes it's the case, but mostly the idea of having a community is that it doesn't have to be about Brittany. The idea is that like you can be the community. But now what we've done with this gentleman is instead of him being a good community member that people can rely on for good care that's worth paying for, he's now people's excuse to try to go get a free screen protector. So his generosity now, look at all these people he's helped, right? And look, he makes money through AdSense. He probably makes money off his content in some capacity. And yet time is still precious, right? And it's an exchange, you know, that he'll give you a free product if you leave a Google review. So it is an exchange. It's saying, you know, but those protectors, it's anywhere from $10 to $15 to $25. That's not good business practice if you're not getting that money back. You know, so I think sometimes with the best intentions, I'm sure many of these people think, oh, he's so generous. I tell my friends to go to him. He's not going to charge them, not to take advantage of him. But even though I think that's happening, but the other side of it, he's so nice. He'll help you out. And that's the problem. Unless he is running a charity, you cannot go into someone's place of business where they are paying feeding their family and assume he'll help you out. So again, it's two sides of the coin, okay? Let me make you a picture. So we have a source, okay? There's one source. And from one side of the source and the other side of the source, there's two different kinds of people. Actually, let me just do it like this. There's two different kinds of people, okay? Okay. These type of people, it's a symbiotic relationship, okay? They, you know, take, you take, they take, you take, you take, but it's not take, it's give. They give, you give, they give, you give. They take. This side, sorry. This side is they take, and they have nothing to give in return. There's nothing, there's a wall, okay? And this kind of community member can come in two different shades. Okay, they can come in the shade of evil, philosophical evil, or what shade should I make them? Orange. Can you guys see the orange? Or they come in the shade of unaware. Oops. Like they didn't mean to do it, but they weren't aware that they were doing it. And so they're not necessarily like take. They just might not think about it. Like kind of like a person who assumes you'll pay the check because you make more money. It's like to them, they're like, yeah, that's just my culture. Instead of asking like, hey, are you like, how can I pay? And so I do think there's like a multitude of layers here. And I think the reason we can't have nice things is because you can only have nice things for as long as they last. Like I've had very many different Discord communities. I've tried to like figure out how can we have nice things and how can we make it work. I find that the best way for the Discord to thrive is with very strong boundaries, very strong rules, and very good faith. I noticed that when I used to run a Discord with no rules, adults cannot be trusted. They cannot be trusted. Okay. When I ran a Discord with too many rules, it stifled even the most creative. Okay. So then it's a flow. Very good faith, lots of boundaries. That's why we have a no trauma dumping rule. It's why I come in and interject. It's why I tell people to cool off. Like, I'm not even going to play. Like, there are definitely times where I see that somebody has mistaken the Discord for intimate family or mistook the space, as many people do in real life too. This happened to me in a lot of my activism groups, where people mistake community as like one type of community. Let me draw you another picture, girl. It's not making sense. Hold on. Okay. If you live in, again, there's inner community. So inner, okay. There's outer community, okay. There's school community, okay. There's, you can't see that. There's work community, right? Like, I think people sometimes forget, like, work is not your intimate space. Outer, meaning like third spaces, is not your intimate space. School is not your intimate space. The Discord, okay, My YouTube community is not your intimate space, right? So you have to think about that. If you can't, this is the most important and intimate place. All of these other places contribute to making this place better. Okay? Ultimately, the Discord and everything we do, including this gentleman, he's supposed to make your life a better place. Your life, not his shop, right? So when you go into his store, he's helping you fix a device that will help you with your work and your family and communicating with your loved ones. It's not so you can communicate with him. So you're taking advantage of him who's trying to help you have a better relationship with your community. Same thing with my community. I think on occasion, people come into this space and forget, like, this is not your home. This is a place you go to take the tools to go to your actual home. This is an important part of community, though, because strangers are an incredibly important part of community because we all exist together in an ecosystem, right? I mean, we just had this horrible attack on the gay community, right? I think in Germany, where a person drove his car into a crowd of gay people, right? Like, when we have conversation, that's a community member. And it's like, hey, community member, what's up? Like, why are you acting like this? You're a stranger, but like, why shouldn't we be good to each other? You know, what are you doing? Okay. Yeah, Ches is just like the coffee shop analogy. Exactly. Like, I love the idea. I always love the idea of owning a coffee shop where people like vibe there. It's like their third space. They love it. A third space is a place you're not supposed to be spending money. So technically it's not a true third space, but you know what I mean? A place away from home and work, you know, but okay, you're at this place. It's beautiful. And at the same time, we might know each other because I work there every day, but like, boundaries. You know, maybe some of the people there become friends, but ultimately like boundaries, you know? And then sometimes you do get a customer that's way too lonely. They never go home, but them being present at your shop every day makes people not want to join. One time we had a guy on the Discord. I had to ban him. He crossed boundaries so many times. It was a huge violation, but I kept trying to give him a chance because, you know, he's neurodivergent and I understand the struggle. But every time, this is a long time ago, but every time he would just sit in the VC and like take over the space. And then people would avoid the space because they didn't want to talk to him. And the reason people didn't want to talk to him is because they could tell he was pushing boundaries. And so eventually I had to kick him out because he crossed my boundary. And I also was like, you're crossing the boundary of the Discord. Like, I gave you rules and you keep defying the rules. And this is the problem with, now some of you might be hearing this and think, oh my God, am I this person? Probably not, girls. You're probably not this type of person. But there is a type of person that exists in a social space where other people avoid it because of this, like, your energy, but it's probably not you. I mean, it's a very specific type of person. Mostly men, and very specific, just because of the way they've been trained under patriarchy as well. It's very socialized, but it's they're entitled. They take up the space. They want to be the only one talking. They violate the rules to see how far they can get. They push buttons. They try to, just like, you know, they try to do all these types of things to get around stuff. Okay, and it is what it is. So when we have these conversations, the reason we can't have nice things is because we can't be expected to have perfect things in an ever evolving world. So instead, what you want is the consistency and the ability to adapt, to utilize joy within a community that's always shifting. So for this gentleman here who said, I don't know, guys, do you think I should stop giving away things for free? Yeah, you should probably put rules down and also brand yourself differently online and say, and talk to people and say ahead of time before you start playing with their devices, start saying like, this is $25. Even if you plan to give it to them for free at the end, they should think you're going to charge them. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of him just fixing it, he should be like, okay, yeah, this is about $10, $20. You want me to look at it? And then be like, yeah, please look at it. And be like, okay. And then at the end, they can expect to pay, or you can say, surprise, it's actually free. And then all of a sudden it's free. Okay. Right? Chat says boundaries, but also sometimes you can make decent friends if they're mentally well. Oh, I should draw at a coffee shop. It's expensive to go out. True. But you know what? I was just thinking, sorry, I read your sentence and then I think I was thinking of something else, but you know what that made me think of? Sometimes the greatest thing about boundaries is showing that people are aware of themselves. Because I remember I had this person on the Discord who was having a bad rough of it. Okay. I don't know what was going on, but they were having a bad day. And I was like, hey, it sounds like you need to take some time off. You want to come back to the Discord after you've like cooled off, And they just weren't getting it. And eventually I had to be like, okay, I'm going to have to ban you. But like when you're better, let us know. And it just ended up becoming like a very difficult mental moment. And I'm very empathetic. You know, it was a situation, but it was one of those things where the reason we're checking in with boundaries is to make sure you're not going to violate them. It's why the person who left that voicemail for that girl was so creepy to all of us, because he said, I know we already talked about this, but meaning he already knew her boundary, but he was pushing. How, if I don't know you, are you signaling safety to me if I put down a boundary and you go, I'm going to cross it? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, how am I supposed to know? We don't know each other. And that includes on the sidewalk. If you were walking along the sidewalk and somebody came up beside you and you were like, hey guy, can you like back off a bit? And they were like, no, I live here too. The social script is now off. Now, how am I going to signal safety? Like, what's going on, right? It's like this whole combination of things. So be deeply empathetic, know that social stuff is hard, and know that there are just many things you can do that you could just put as your go-to to automatically make people feel better. Back off. Number one, back off. Don't talk. Move away. Hands up. You know, walk away. Like if somebody feels violated by you and you don't know what's going on, you know, there are just universal signals that help people go, okay, you're not trying to fight me, you know, in general. It won't be perfect, but if that helps, right? That's that I'm not making excuses for anyone or anything, but I have so much compassion for people who overshare and are desperate for connection. I feel your pain. It can create feedback loop of shame and isolation. Yeah, well, same. I think that was why, though, my community was, I used to have a community that was allowed to overshare. And it went downhill so fast. It just, guys, the toxicity was crazy. And I think all of these people are good people in different ways, but it just got so bad that I was like, everybody shut the fuck up. No more oversharing because none of you can be trusted. It was insane. I wanted to believe that I could make it work. I wanted to believe that at me at the helm, I could drive this ship. I could steer this ship into like clear waters. Girl. No. It was like zombies trying to attack me on my own ship. I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh my God. And I tried. I believed, and I just wouldn't work. It didn't work. Okay. And I think that that's the problem. So again, how to be a whole human being, get your shit together, make sure you're showing up the best way possible, you know, take a step back, really think about who you're sharing with. You know, Discord said, I love your ambition. I was so ambitious. I really was, you know. But yeah, I think open with boundaries is kind of key. I think the one last dilemma to this situation is people don't understand the rules. So I think sometimes with a situation like this, if the branding of the shorts is he's the cool guy who gives shit away for free, then I think it can confuse people in a world where nobody's thinking deeply about the situation. And they really can think, oh, he wants me to act. The assumption is he wants to give it away for free. You know what I'm saying? That might be literally the lesson they're hearing. That might be literally the message they're getting instead of what's actually happening. And this is why I say we live in a world where people are not thinking deeply enough. They're thinking, but not deeply enough. Consider the whole social context. That's why in Assyrian culture, you don't ask for anything and you always pay. You offer to pay. It's why you always are generous, because better to be generous than a taker. Better to pay for dinner than to assume somebody will pay for you. But in this world where people just like, what are you going to give me for free? Are you going to give me something for free? I want something for free. You know what I mean? Like, it's culturally speaking, I would never assume shit was free. Just like it's giving Bradley on a budget. You know what I'm saying? You know who Bradley on a budget is? It's giving Bradley on a budget, and his vibes are off for a reason. Bradley's vibes are so off that people are fascinated by him, but his frugality is so off-putting to me. It's so lacking in generosity to me. I just don't like it, you know? Chat said, I won't be surprised if some of the people feel entitled because they know he's recording the interaction probably and think it's free because he makes money from the videos. I think so too. I think that's probably a big part of it. Now, some people don't even know they're being recorded, I think, which is another layer to this. I'm not exactly sure. But if people go in because that might be a part of it. Now, one last section to this topic, I want to show you this right here. And I think this really relates because, you know, coming off the last segment about liberating yourself while the world is melting around you, I also think there's this other layer of understanding that even if people feel entitled to free shit, there's a goodness in them. The question is, what kind of a society do we want to live in? Do we want to live in one where people are generous? Yes. But we also want to live in a world where people don't take advantage. And the dilemma with people taking advantage is it often does come from a place of learned behavior, because they're taught that the world sucks and nothing matters, and you have to be the highest in the hierarchy. It's like clavicular looks maxing to get ahead because he's autistic and he knows like pretty privilege gets you far. I mean, it worked for him, didn't it? He's famous and rich. There you go. But again, what was he really fulfilled? No. So you actually have to learn that human beings are flawed always, but as long as they're trying to be better, there's something about that. Or in my case, trying to be less bad. Okay, check this out. This is from The Good Place, the TV show.
What matters isn't if people are good or bad. What matters is if they're trying to be better today than they were yesterday. People improve when they get external love and support. How can we hold it against them when they don't?
I want to take something apart here. That is true. That love and support goes a longer way. But hear me out, my fellow autistics. Listen to me, lock in. Auntie Brittany is speaking now. In The Good Place, it took thousands of resets for any of these fuckers to be any better. And in this life, we only get one. This message is not so you go home and let your abuser abuse you or engage or make excuses. This is not a message of genocidal maniacs getting a second chance. This is a message about humanity as a whole getting thousands of attempts to be better, and we are as a whole getting better. But individually speaking, this is not about individuals. This message is not about individuals, you know. It's about us as a collective. Okay? This show, they had to reset these people thousands of times to get slight improvement. Okay? So again, when we have these conversations, I think because we don't understand the micro versus macro thinking, we have to understand that often philosophy is about humanity as a whole and about the role you play being a part of that humanity as a collective. So yes, you must liberate yourself, introspection, everything in relationship to yourself. And yes, you must help liberate those outside of yourself, extrospection, everything outside of yourself. It matters as much as everything inside of yourself. These two things have to work in positive symbiosis. And right now we live in a world where we don't know how to make that happen. Because either people are living completely for themselves at the expense of others or completely for others at the expense of themselves. And I'm saying once again, and this is where we'll end stream today, you, but not at the expense of your community, but not at the expense of you. And you must find balance. That's it. That's the universal message. It's every good philosophy message. That is the only answer to the universe, because it's the umbrella for everything else that follows. We must be in harmony. And if we are not in harmony, we are in chaos. And the only kind of chaos that is good is one that leads you back to harmony. Otherwise, you're just in a spiral. And that can never be the message of joyful living. Joyful living will never be a continuous spiral. It's always about balance and harmony. Okay? Okay, that's what we'll leave today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it so much. And I will see you tomorrow. On Friday, just a heads up once again, I'll be doing a vegan conversation with 3 vegans and me. It'll be fun. It'll be great. I just have some philosophical questions about veganism. So look forward to that on Friday. And be kind to yourself and take care of yourself. And I'm not just saying that, I mean it. It's very serious. It's serious business. If you care about your community, you'll start by caring for its members, and that includes you. Okay? Talk to you tomorrow. Thank you for being here. Oh, and chat, thank you for asking about Indy. She's doing okay. giving her medication is it's a journey and it's a lot. And she's doing okay. She's losing weight a little faster than we'd like, obviously. And she's not eating as much, but she is doing a little bit better today with eating, which is good. But, you know, she's fine. She's good. I shared with the Discord the cutest picture. I'll post it for members. But she's a ground cat. So that table right there, she's decided is like her new house. So she sits underneath it. She likes being under the ground. I'll share it to the members post. But she's so cute. And she was with me all day yesterday. And she's being very clingy and cute. So, you know. Anyways, thanks for asking. All right. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.